Welcome back to the party, everybody. I am your host, Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. How is everybody doing tonight? Oh, we got a good one. First, I want to give a shout out to the replay gang. Thank you so much, guys, for coming back to watch us, even though you missed the live party. Even though you know that's the best part, you will still enjoy this, but make sure you are here every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, and sometimes whenever I feel like it, so smash that subscribe button, and you will never, ever, ever miss another live party ever again. Before we begin, a shout out to the sponsor of the stream. As always, you know it, my6shirt.com. Looks like we got a new design here. Whatever your persuasion, they've got something for you. And of course, it is the only place to get your very own The Indian Jesus official merch. Only at my6shirt.com. All right. What is good? We got some early gang people in the building. Devon and Rod. We got Kelly. We got Jay. Per usual. What is good? Welcome to the party, guys. If you didn't know, this is a very special stream to me, just for no other reason than finally we are monetized. So whoever sends the first super chat, I don't care if it's 99 cents or $500, I have a limited edition. There's only 2 in existence. Thank you, per usual. I just realized that I could change that. So I have 2 limited edition mugs that there's a little thing that, you know, I'm not going to make any more of those. There's 2 in existence. So the first super chat that I get, that person gets one of them. And then on Friday's show is going to be the official monetization party, and the biggest super chat or CashApp or whatever, they will get the other mug. So going forward, we are going to determine, aside from my 6 shirt, a sponsor of the stream. The sponsor of the stream, whatever the stream, whoever donates the most, gets put into this banner rolling across here, and everybody will know that you are the big baller who is bankrolling this whole thing. So I just want to again just thank you guys so much for getting me here, and we're only just beginning. Oh, wrong one. So let's get into it. So tonight I was looking through some stuff. There's not really too much going on except for R.I.P. Tyree Nichols. And because we break down conversations and discussions here, that really, we'll probably cover that a little bit later once more takes are coming out. So I kind of just went back. You know, a lot of conversations don't have to have happened yesterday or the day before for them to be relevant. So this is from May, when David Pakman, a progressive guy, he's got his own show, the David Pakman Show, super progressive guy, went on the Triggernometry Podcast we did a show with Destiny, went on there a couple weeks ago, last week, whenever, and it went really well. So I figured, let's do it again. So without further ado, let's dive in. You guys know sometimes that sound will not work. So if you cannot hear the video, please do let me know.
If you have a trans woman.
Oh, why is that coming out of there? Oh, Jesus. Oh, Jesus. Struggle streaming. All right, take 2. That's probably not even going to be able to hear that. Let's try that again. Struggle streaming. All right.
And has a penis, but is slight in size and has a very feminine appearance. By all statistical likelihood, they are far less likely to assault someone in a women's prison than they are to be assaulted in a men's prison. And so that's a particular case where I would say it makes sense for them to be in a women's prison, yes.
We already got the first one. Is it though, or does it though?
Hello and welcome to Triggernometry. I'm Francis Foster.
I'm Konstantin Kisin.
And this is the show for you if you want honest conversation.
Hey, and there it is! The Mikey story is the first super chat ever on the channel. Thank you so much, brother. I really do appreciate that. I don't know if you heard before, but the first super chat of the night wins a limited edition IndianJesus mug. So I'll catch up with you after the show to get your details, but thank you so much for kicking this off. I really do appreciate this. This is a moment, guys. This is a moment. I don't know what to say, so let's just keep going. But Mikey, thank you so much. I really appreciate it so much. Oh, this is awesome.
Conversations with fascinating people.
Our brilliant guest today is the progressive commentator and the host of the David Pakman Show right here on YouTube. David Pakman, welcome to Triggernometry.
Thank you for having me.
It's so great to have you on the show. Listen, we'll get right into it, and I'll say this for our audience, what I've already said to you off camera, which is we're really grateful to you for coming on the show. We want to have a constructive conversation with you. And I really acknowledge you for coming on our show, because I think a lot of people who are progressive might think that, you know, Francis and I are these two right-wing nut jobs, which we're definitely not. And we're really...
Hey, and Kelly Green, no comment, no question, just pure love of the game. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much.
Really keen actually to hear some of your thoughts and why you think what you think. So very much with that in mind, did I describe you correctly as a progressive commentator? Is that a fair way to describe you?
That's how I describe myself, as a sort of standard progressive in the Northern European mold. There are people who say I am a communist socialist, and I'm definitely not. There are people who say I'm a centrist establishment shill, which I'm definitely not. I'm just uncontroversial.
We'll see about that. So Mikey's saying pay it forward to the mug. So I guess because Kelly was next in line, not only does he get his free t-shirt, not only did he win $100 in the December Discord contest, but now he's got the mug too. This man is going to have all of the limited edition merch. So congratulations, Kelly. Thank you, Mikey. You guys are awesome.
Controversially, sort of like a Northern European social democrat.
Right. So
let me back that up. So he was saying
I'm a centrist establishment shill, which I'm definitely not. I'm just uncontroversially sort of like a Northern European social democrat.
Right. So what does that mean exactly? What do you want?
So this is a form of capitalism, right? So strictly speaking,
okay.
if we start with a sort of just black-white, is my view a view that it falls under capitalism? The answer is yes. And social democracy is a well-regulated form of capitalism, where we say there's lots of good things about capitalism and about markets directing resources in many areas, but there are some what we would call special cases. And these might, depending on who you ask, include healthcare, they might include education and other what we call public goods. And in those cases, we don't want to let the free market, or a supposedly free market, as is often the case, direct resources. And in order to fund those public goods, we would use taxes. You're still allowed to make a ton of money. You can still become very wealthy, but we would use some of the top wealth to say, let's fund these special areas that we would say as
oh, top dog in the building. No question, no comment, just the pure love of the game. Funding Riding Rod. Thank you so much, Divine Rod. I really do appreciate that. So here's how we do this. So now I'm going to pull the banner down, and we are going to update it with the sponsor of this stream is Divining Rod. Let me play. Oh, let this play.
are exceptions to free market capitalism.
Things like healthcare, for example, which is pretty much what we do here in Britain. I find that all entirely uncontroversial. I think where some of the controversies might start to come in is the cultural side. What does it mean to be culturally progressive? If you are that?
think one of the issues is that these are not necessarily major issues for folks like me. And so one of the things I try to do is
boom. And then we've got Divine and Rod well, you have to see it for the end, but thank you so much, Divine Rod. I really do appreciate that. You guys are so great. My heart is so warm right now. I did not expect even one super chat. I expected maybe somebody throw me a poem with a 99 cent. You guys are making my month, week, year. It's amazing. Hey, and we got Harley Rose in the building. Welcome to the party. We are talking with David Pakman and the Triggernometry podcast. Kelly says, match my chat and join Discord if you're new and snag that mug from me. I want people to come enjoy the stream. There we go. Community building. I love it, guys. I love it. So welcome to the party. Hey, Harley, welcome to the party. Let's back this up again, see where we were.
These are not necessarily major issues for folks like me. And so one of the things I try to do is not delve too deeply into opining about positions or defending positions which are not mine.
Hey, we got To Be Artistry in the building. A new YouTuber, amazing artist. Please go check out her channel. Welcome, and thank you.
I guess what I want to say is there's a lot of what I believe are fabricated culture wars. I can speak to the United States, because that's where my knowledge is. In the United States, there have been, in the absence of policy for what I call the American right wing, which includes the Republican Party, but it also includes right-wing people who don't really care about the Republican Party. Many Trumpists were never voters before Trump, so it doesn't have to be Republicans, but the American right wing has given up on policy. They don't really talk about taxes anymore. They don't really talk about immigration reform. They take a cultural approach. And part of that is framing the left as being obsessed with identity politics and all these different things.
Framing it, or just acknowledging and observing that the left is obsessed with identity politics.
These things exist on the left. They're not really my cup of tea. And so
this is what you hear from leftists all the time. They're like, oh, yes, there are people who get obsessed with this stuff, but that's not me. I'm one of the good ones. But then, as we go through this conversation, we're going to see that actually you are one of them.
So I don't have a huge interest in defending some of those aspects. For me, I have cultural views, but they're not the primary element of my politics.
Do you mind if I ask you what they are, though?
Sure. I mean, give me a question about a particular issue and I'll give you my opinion.
Okay, I've been talking for too long. I'll let Francis ask some questions, and then we'll come back to the culture side of things.
Okay, so let's look at. So we're looking at economics. Let's look. Let's really delve into the economics of it. So,
hey, we got Lee in the building. Welcome, brother. Thank you so much on the congrats. I really do appreciate it. And welcome to the party, brother.
What would you say when it comes to a fair amount to tax an individual? What is your opinion on that?
An individual of what income?
And that's a good question. So, for instance, in the UK, I think over 50, if you earn over 50,000 a year sterling, you get taxed 40%, which I think is too high, personally. And I think if you're taxed over 100K, then you get 50%, which is a very high taxation rate.
And if the effect of
that's just think about that. Half of your money, regardless of how much it is, whatever you're doing, you earn that money. Now, there is definitely a conversation to have about how you can earn so much money, but it's your money. Hey, we got David Banner in the building. What is good? Says gaslighting is just a buzz term that horoscope girls use. That is true. However, gaslighting is very real. The people who usually use the term are usually the horoscope girls. But the ones who are also doing it are usually the leftists and the horoscope girls. Thank you, David. I very much appreciate that. Harley says, definitely. I think some people are too caught up in small issues that they tend to ignore the bigger problems. I 100% agree with you. 100%. There's so many things that people get hyper focused on, and it's just like, why does that matter? Why does that matter? Now, there's some other things that I think seem like are not a big deal and seem like they're pulling attention away from bigger issues. But when you dive into them a little bit more, these issues do matter. So I do think it's very important to know the difference. And if you think something is too silly to talk about, and somebody else is very passionate about it, hear them out. Maybe there's something you didn't, maybe they didn't, or excuse me, maybe they have an opinion that you weren't aware of. Maybe they have information that you weren't aware of.
The tax rate is probably even higher.
Yeah.
So I can speak. So in the United States, there's the federal taxes, and then some states have a state income tax. Some don't. My view, first of all, before we even talk about changing the tax rates, is that tax money is dramatically misallocated in the US. So I think the US spends way too much on military and defense. There are guaranteed contracts given where we just replace unused weapons. They're sort of given like an expiration date, and then the government just keeps buying and buying.
Thank you so much, Divine Roz. You earned it, brother. Keeping the avenue of discussion open is paramount as we try to right the ship of our society. I tried to be first, but still at work. Much love, brother. Hey, you are the sponsor of the stream, so no apologies at all. I am so grateful for you. No, every state does not have sales tax. I think Delaware is one of them. And I want to say like something like Wyoming, Montana, somewhere around there. There's a couple states that, yeah, there's just the price that you see in the store. That's what you pay. Like in New Jersey, we don't have sales tax on food or clothing. But if you go to like a McDonald's, because there's service there, you have to pay the tax on that. Yeah, that's a state to state thing.
The tentacles of military bases around the world, to me, is totally overblown for the safety and security of the United States. So before even talking about changing the current tax rates, I think that money that's already coming in should be used in a very different way. And maybe you wouldn't even need to change tax rates at all. Now,
okay,
if
sounds
changes
good.
were to be made to tax rates, I would like to see some higher brackets created. Right now, the top tax bracket in the US starts, I actually don't have the numbers in front of me, but it's around $500,000 a year in income. To me, the difference between someone making $500,000 a year, $5 million a year, and $1 billion a year is very different. And so
I think that's a decent point, actually. I do think that is a decent point. And, you know, I've never made a lot of money. Maybe you guys could tell. I've never made a lot of money. And so the tax bracket thing was very esoteric and theoretical to me. But it does make sense that as people are starting to raise the ceiling of what can be earned, that maybe the tax brackets, more tax brackets would work. Because he's saying there's a difference between making $500,000 a year and making $5 billion a year. And maybe they shouldn't all be in the same bracket. But I used to follow David. I used to watch his show, and it was just so bad faith. It was just always pushing the same narrative. It wasn't that he was necessarily always lying. It was that he couldn't see past his own bias, and I could. And so it didn't work for me. Howard says, I don't have an issue with taxes. I have an issue with how the taxes are used. I mean, I have an issue with taxes in general, but they're definitely they definitely could do it in a way that I don't hate it. Taxes kill initiative. Yep. And how so? Because what are we doing here? Because it adds another layer of what overhead costs are needed to take into account. And so any additional cost that you add onto it is going to stifle innovation. 100% agreed.
So I think we need more tax rates. And, maybe it would be at $2 million a year. Right now, the top tax rate's 37%, just for context, so you guys know. Maybe
which, again, 37%, that's still a lot of your money. That's still a lot of your money when we don't have, whether you want it or not, we don't have universal health care. We don't have all of these social services that a lot of other countries that have high taxes have. So exactly what Harley was saying is that, okay, the idea of taxation, I can swallow that pill. But you keep raising these rates, and then life doesn't get any better. So make that make sense. Lisa, didn't he slander the Trig Boys right after this podcast? I would not be surprised. That seems exactly like something he would do.
$2 million a year, you go to 39%, and maybe at 20 million bucks a year, you go to 42%. I mean, I'm not in the mindset of we need a 90% top tax rate or anything like that. I just think we need some higher brackets, because what you have in the US is that the very, very richest, not the 1%, not the 0.5%, but like the 0.1%, pay a lower effective tax rate than people who earn less. That doesn't seem right, but
even and I hear this a lot. And again, I've never been in the top 0.001%. I do believe that the laws are created in such a way that if you have the money and resources, that you absolutely can circumnavigate the way that things are supposed to work. So I would think that if you are a billionaire, that you have the resources to pay a smaller portion of your income in taxes than somebody like me or you. But that only exists, in my opinion, you guys can tell me if I'm wrong, but that only exists because of this idea that, well, just because I'm making all this money, now they're going to take it. So I got to hide money here, and I got a shell company there, and I got to donate to charity here, and I got to buy this $7 million piece of art here and all that stuff. It seems like, a chicken and egg situation, but he seems to have decided that it's the tax rate that will fix everything. Brown says Europeans speak about U.S. tax issues. Europeans speaking about U.S. tax issues is laughable. They need to pay their decades-old NATO bill. That's a whole other conversation, but agree with you there. David Manor says, I'm not even really opposed to what David is saying. Oh, just wait. He's being normal now. But how would any of these this extra money go to improving society? Saying that saying people that make more should pay more is kind of a half step. Exactly. Because if the system itself, again, going back to what Harley said, it's not the taxes themselves, it's how they are used. So if that system is just as corrupt as it's always been, then pouring more money into it only creates more corruption.
But again, but there might be the belief that people like me are talking about 60, 70% tax rates. I'm not.
Shut up, Nightbot. You guys can ignore that. I don't know how to turn it off.
Not talking about that.
Okay, and that's a great answer, because sometimes I think people on the right mischaracterize the left. Sure. And there'll be people on the left who are like this, who are just like, all rich people are evil, they need to have all their wealth taken away from them. And obviously that's a mischaracterization. Where do you stand on the Democrats and people and that political party? Would you say that you're pro-Democrat, or are you one of those people on the left, like we've had a lot of them on, like the Aaron Martes, the Jimmy Dores, who are very, very distrustful of the Democrats? And actually,
what was that laugh at the hearing the name Jimmy Dore? Did y'all see that?
Martes, the Jimmy Dores, who are very, very distrustful.
Why is that so funny?
Of the Democrats, and actually, in many cases, see them as worse than the Republicans.
So if it's with respect, I will give my views in the absence of a comparison to the individuals you just listed. Is that fair?
That's course.
Okay. I have never been a registered Democrat. I don't really care about political parties beyond. I will be glad to vote for Democrats if they're the better option in a particular election.
So ask him if that's a fair position, but that is BS. Because at no point would you ever vote for a Republican. It just so happens that you may not care about party lines, but you always line up on one side of the aisle. So what is it? That is a meaningless statement. I'm not just riding for the Democratic Party because it's the Democratic Party. I just happen to always agree with the Democratic Party, so I vote for the Democratic Party. Like, what does that mean? Exactly. Nothing. Not a goddamn thing.
So in 2020, the options were Trump and Biden. Biden was the better option, and he happened to be a Democrat, and I voted for him. But my view about political parties is they are essentially like a corporation that wants to justify its own existence. Part of the way that they justify their own existence is in opposition or in contrast to the other party. Certainly, the politics of the Democratic Party are much closer to mine than the Republican Party, but I don't really care about the Democratic Party as an institution.
And what do you make of populism and the rise of populism? Do you see that as a problem, which I do? And this is, I mean, I don't know where I would identify myself now, but this is my opinion. I think a lot of populism was created by the left, by the more progressive elements of left-wing politics and politicians, essentially turning their back on working class people and not representing them. Certainly in my own country, in the UK, with the Labour Party.
So I completely disagree with that analysis as applied to the United States.
Oh, he's gonna be like, well, you guys over there in the UK, maybe the left wing over there is crazy, but here in America, it's all these deplorable MAGA Republicans. Okay, bro.
But the problem I have with populism is that populism fundamentally is rhetoric more than it is policy. And so when I talk about social democracy, without explaining policy, there's a pretty well-established set of policies that go along with that, some of which I might agree with and some of which I might disagree with, and what works in Sweden may not work in Denmark or might work in the United States, or it might not. The pernicious part for me about populism is that it's fundamentally a rhetoric, and rhetoric, particularly in a country with such educational problems as the United States,
It's a rhetoric. What is it? And that, okay. All right, I'm with you. Okay, it's a rhetoric. And that is a good or bad thing because
lack of media literacy and critical thinking can be used by bad actors to convince people to support really bad candidates.
I think he just called us all dumb. I'm pretty sure he just called us all dumb. Let me listen to that one more time.
Problems is rhetoric.
So populism just refers to, as where is it? David said no party fully represents the working class, and so that is undeniably true. That is undeniably true. So what he's trying, then what we get is people like Trump who are appealing to the population, not necessarily the academics who are like, oh, well, this policy is going to lead to that and that and that. It's telling people what they want to hear. So, okay, I'm with the fact that populism is a rhetoric. That's a weird phrasing. But it sounds like he's just calling us all really stupid. Let's see.
Rhetoric, particularly in a country with such educational problems as the United States.
I don't know about y'all, but not only do I have a bachelor's degree, a lot of the smartest people I know didn't even finish high school.
Such lack of media literacy and critical thinking.
That part I agree with.
Can be used by bad actors to convince people to support really bad candidates. Trump used a version of populist rhetoric. He was, China's screwing us, the working class, I'm going to fix it, etc.
So he's saying that the people who like Trump were just caught up in rhetoric. Unlike the people who think that a man can be a woman, that a child can consent to sexual things. Oh, okay, gotcha. We're the dumb
problem.
I don't even like Trump, but I'm offended by that statement.
With populist rhetoric, absent a really clear vision of policy, is that you put in someone into power based on their rhetoric, and all of a sudden the solutions they propose are wacky. Like, for example, Tucker Carlson is a propagandist on Fox News who uses populist rhetoric. But all of a sudden, when you say, well, what's a solution? Well, you've got to prevent Antifa from taking your house, or...
Yes. That is a real worry for many people. Now, remember, this conversation is from May. What happened just this weekend? Something where a lot of people, despite the fact that Memphis acted swiftly, and I don't really want to get into the whole Tyree Nichols thing, but the government, the bad cops, they took care of it, and there was still a protest. Obviously, nothing as bad as like George Floyd stuff. But how was that not an issue? How is that not a real thing? Did we not have billions and billions and billions of dollars of damage in the summer of 2020, the summer of love? Hey, we got indie film in the building. What is good? What is good? Welcome to the party, brother. Yeah, fair and balanced. Fair and balanced. Where do we go? Where do we go? So if you take money away from the wealthy, Holly says, to bring them to our level, you're also taking away jobs and goods and services. Exactly. Here's the number they never speak of, Divine Rod says. Granted, the per day may seem high, but keep in mind, rich people pay tons per day. Equation to follow. Okay, well, we'll star that one and come back to it. I think he means they were persuaded by his bloviation. I have no idea what the word bloviation means or bloviated. Can you define it for me? See, I was just talking about how I'm wrong. I like being right. And right now, I don't know what the hell this means. So I would like to know what it means so I could be right in the future. But yeah, I don't know what that means. So another word, maybe? I don't know.
Brown people from Mexico are taking your job, and we've got to stop that. So a lot of the same rhetoric we hear from the left and right that sounds populist is used in different ways. And so for me, I take more of a policy-oriented approach of social democracy, and I'm not big on populist rhetoric myself.
Okay, well, before I come to the cultural stuff and maybe the immigration.
Bloviating, talk at length, especially in an inflated or empty way. So you're saying that Pakman is saying that Trump supporters were persuaded by Trump's just talking like this? Is that what you're saying? Or are you saying that that's what Pakman is doing? Divine Rod said the number people never speak of. So at $35 a day for a year, times the population, 350 million, all taxes, income, sales, state, car, utilities equals 4.4, almost $4.5 trillion. Now that $35 a day could be low in some aspects. Okay. Again, I'll start this. Let me know when you get the whole argument out, and then I'll do them all together. So Chibi is saying that everybody was swept up by Trump's rhetoric, and so it sounds like she agrees with Pakman here. And I do think that absolutely was the case for a lot of people, but I think that's I think that's simplified because I just put out a short yesterday about the two camps of people when it comes to Trump. There's the people who, no matter what, are going to look at anything that he says and take the worst possible interpretation, whether he meant that or not. Then there's everybody else who is willing to see that, okay, I don't like this guy. He's bombastic. He's a jerk. And, whether I agree with his politics or not, this is who he is. So knowing that that's the case, now I'm going to put view what he's saying through those that lens. Yeah, I'm right there with David. I don't keep it coming, Divine Rod. It sounds like you're making a good point. I just want to make sure we get it all out so we can understand it. So I'm starring your comments and help us out. Help us out.
Point you make as well. You mentioned that you thought that Joe Biden was the better option at the last election.
Yeah.
What have you liked about the Biden administration? And are you still of the view that that was the right choice in terms of voting for Biden?
From the two options, it was the right choice. I mean, to speak candidly with you, gentlemen, Donald Trump was a humiliating embarrassment. I mean,
as somebody who did not vote in 2020, specifically because those were the two options, coming off the back of 2016, where I felt like the media forced me. They didn't. It was my own choice, but I was brainwashed and I voted for the worst person probably alive on this earth, Hillary Clinton. And this lesser of two evils thing is it's just not a good argument. We need to do better. We need to withhold our votes to pull these politicians to actually do something for us. You have to earn my vote. You don't just get a vote because you're not as bad as the other guy.
And just the promises he made, None of them were kept. You know, he was going to build a wall. He didn't build it. He was going to solve.
Oh yeah, no, Biden's building it. So
the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Jared actually was going to solve it. His son-in-law. As you know, it hasn't been solved. He was.
I mean, there was a lot of progress on that. Would you concede that?
I don't.
No, nothing happened. Trump's name was on it, so nothing there. And remember, even though this was earlier, in May of last year, that was 2022. This is exactly what I was talking about when Destiny was on Triggernometry. All of these liberals, leftists, progressives, whatever, they're so obsessed with Trump. Bro, people don't give a crap about Trump anymore. Like yes, of course, there's Trumpers that are still out there, but that's not an argument anymore. Nobody's cheering on Trump. Your guy is the president. We looked at the predicted thing, and Ron DeSantis, the last time we looked, was almost twice as likely. He was 20 points ahead. And now there's a long time between now and election day. But Trump is old news. Nobody cares about that.
Well, what progress was there?
The Israeli foreign minister turning up in Saudi Arabia. I mean, all of that stuff and better relations between the countries in the region. Did you not feel that was some progress?
What changed materially, though?
Look, maybe let's not spend too much time on it.
So 2B has an interesting question. So is not withholding your vote still a vote for somebody? I don't believe so. I would say that while it does have the effect of it has the effect of lowering the disparity between the two. Sure. But I am not going to cast a vote for Donald Trump. I am sure as shit not going to cast a vote for what's his name? Biden. So I just abstained. I didn't say him or him. Everybody else who had an opinion on that, they were free to do as they choose, but I'm not going to vote for somebody who I don't believe deserves to run our country. Hey, make America meme again. Thank you for $5. Says congrats on the 1K. Thank you so much. I really, really do appreciate that. Goes on to say I'd vote for Trump in 24, and I think a lot of people would. But I'm saying the point is that is not the core of what conservatives in general are talking about. The culture war issues, immigration stuff, whatever. It's not about Trump. And that's all that they can use. Hey, we got Everett. Everett does stuff. Welcome. Said, isn't Trump rerunning for president? I believe he is. But my point is that he's not as relevant. He's not as relevant as he was when he was the president. You can't, if you are on the left and your guy is in office, then every argument that you have can't be, well, Trump did worse. Well, fine. Okay, great. I didn't vote for Trump. I don't like Trump. I'm not talking about Trump. I'm talking about politics today. So Trump is not relevant to that, especially in May when this conversation happened, when he hadn't even talked about running again yet. I mean, we all knew he was going to, but and yeah, DeSantis is up like 20 points on the some of the polls. Like Trump is not going to be the president. I sure hope not, but all right. So I think we got it here. So Brown Wright says, here's the number they never speak of. Granted, the per day may seem high, but keep in mind, rich people pay tons per day. Equation to follow. So again, we had the $35 a day for the year times the population, and that comes to $4.5 trillion. So people from monocultures are so dim on diversity issues. And says monoculture, where the majority are the same ethnic groups, speaking a common language and have an above room temperature average IQ. You can't compare the US to Europe. I mean, you definitely can. It just you have to have the caveats. So with these guys being from Europe, they can really only talk about what they know, what's good, what's going on there. And people know about American politics because we're America. But I think there's a lot of places where those comparisons make a lot of sense. You disagree? 2B says, I hate choosing between the lesser of two evils, but if you don't vote, you go with the crowd. Actually, most of the crowd doesn't vote. And I'm sorry, I don't disagree with you that it is not the best thing to withhold a vote, but that is not an excuse. That is not an excuse for me to give a vote to somebody who I believe is evil, to somebody who I believe will damage our country. I'm sorry, do better. Do better, politicians. That's the answer. And I'm not saying you guys shouldn't vote. I'm saying personally, for me, once you've cast a vote for Hillary Clinton, you got to be real careful about what you do with them votes. Valorant says, on my previous point, the government makes the majority of their money from the exchange of monies and grifting off that exchange. Yeah, yep, that's a big grift that the banks and all of that.
So
Well,
you
did
don't
anything?
think
I
he
guess
made any
let me put it.
So let's back this up a little bit.
That was some progress.
What changed materially, though?
They're talking about in the Middle East.
Look, maybe let's not spend too much time on it. So you don't think he made any progress?
Let me put it this way: did anything change materially?
I think it's quite a difficult situation to change materially in the course of a 4-year presidency. But
So it didn't. That's fair. Okay, we agree. It didn't change.
Oh, did you see that? Did you see that? And the point was, well, it would be hard for any material change to be made in a 4-year period, regardless of who it was. So your question of disqualifying Trump for whatever it is that you're talking about is irrelevant, because whether it was Trump, Biden, Bush, or anybody else, the answer that you're looking for would not have been available in a 4-year period. It was, oh, okay, so we agree that it didn't change at all. No, we agreed that expecting change is not reasonable.
Materially, they did do some optics things. There was a flight like from Tel Aviv to UAE, but I think we're on the same page. We can't. Neither one of us can identify anything that changed materially. Is that fair?
What I would say is I think some progress was made in a very difficult situation. I don't claim that the situation became dramatically different and we are now like way towards a solution. And also, I think I'd also concede that it's not an issue I know enough about to have a proper discussion with you as well.
That's fair. We can table it on that basis. No, listen, I mean, as far as Joe Biden's not exciting to me. I'm a progressive social democrat, so Joe Biden's not exciting. He did some good things. So he did a third COVID stimulus at a time that I think it was necessary, extended a pause on student loans, got a pretty good infrastructure bill passed, got us out of Afghanistan, which I think was a great thing.
Yeah, it was a great thing that we left. But did you watch any of the footage? Did you hear about any of the stuff that was left over there and is just taken over by all of the people that we don't want taking it over?
I think that was a quagmire.
Look at that face. Wow, really?
Do you?
Oh my God. I mean, we were there 21 years.
No, I agree with you with the quagmire point, yeah. But did you feel that the way that was done went well?
I think it went as well as it would have gone no matter who did it.
Wow.
Interesting.
I mean, when Trump was asked, what would you have done differently? And he literally couldn't articulate a single difference. So at least Trump was going to do it. And another failed promise. Biden did it. And when Trump was given the opportunity to articulate how he would have handled it differently, he couldn't name a single difference. So let me, in the most factual way possible, I've not heard Trump explain what would have gone differently. And therefore, I have no basis on which to assume it would have. Is that fair?
I suppose that in a Weasley way, that is fair. Well, Trump didn't say what he would do different. So even though it was terrible, I can't possibly say that it was worse. Like, okay, technically, I guess that's true, but you can't fathom a way that we're in a war zone and we leave and we don't leave all of our shit and we don't leave all the people that helped us out. You can't fathom that? Okay, maybe I'm just smarter than you. Harry says the issue in the Middle East is not black and white issue, very complex, and expecting to change it or make it better based off your own views is not a solution. Exactly. Jay said, did that student loan forgiveness even pass? I thought the Supreme Court shut it down. Not really sure. Yes, per usual. All that stuff that was just left. They just left in the middle of the night. They didn't tell the Afghani army. They just dipped out. There was a plan that was in place. And if that plan was followed, then again, it was a bad situation. So as Harley said, it's not black and white. But to say that this was the best it possibly could have gone, that's silly. Well, I don't know. That's I don't know too much about that. Hey, we got Twinks in the building. Welcome. Trump actually said he would not have left the Bagram Air Base. Sure, but what is the significance of that? What is the significance of that?
I suppose it is. The question for me is, I mean, I struggle to imagine it going any worse. So I kind of feel like there is a possibility that the preparations could have gone better. Do you think that's unfair?
I have a struggle to imagine it could have gone better. So like, I think
you struggle to imagine this horrible thing that had very clear issues. You struggle to think? You struggle to imagine how it could have gone better? How about we just bring our shit and our people with us? Sounds like a good, sounds like a way that would have gone better. Twink says, this guy's either stupid or a liar. I think he's a liar. Trump spoke extensively on the pullout. Dave says, what Trump says I would or wouldn't have done holds no weight. I guess that's a good point. It doesn't really matter what Trump says. Like, objectively, the pullout did not go well. Full stop. So what does Trump even have to do with this?
Where I land is it went the way I expected, and it was correct ultimately to get out.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I agree with the last part. It was good to get out, but we should have just done it better the way that Trump wanted to do it.
Please carry on. I interrupted you.
Biden.
We're talking about whether you're happy with the Biden presidency.
Yeah,
basically.
I mean, it's like, listen, he's doing exactly what I expected. I didn't expect him to do anything on cannabis decriminalization, and he's not.
But you voted for him.
And I didn't expect any, at least in the first 2 years, immigration reform, and we're not getting it. So,
but you voted for him.
I try not to become jaded or cynical, but basically I've seen from Biden exactly what I expected.
Okay. You mentioned Trump being a humiliation, and look, neither Francis or I were pro-Trump. I thought he raised some.
That's good. Oh, okay. You're part of the club. You don't love Trump. You're not pro-Trump. So, okay, that's good. The arrogance and the elitism. They're like, oh, okay. I thought maybe for a while you guys were one of those lowly deplorables, but now that you're not pro-Trump, I can take you seriously. Like, get the fuck out of here. Harley says the pullout was bad, but Trump didn't pull out. Biden did. So how is that Trump's fault? Perfect answer. Perfect. Exactly, Harley. Exactly. Trump didn't pull out. Biden did. But it's Trump's fault.
Some important issues, by the way, and immigration not being least of those. We can have a conversation about that maybe later on. But if Trump was a humiliation, perhaps in the way that he talked, and you mentioned some of the promises that he didn't deliver on, the optics of the Biden presidency, do they not make you cringe somewhat when he's shaking hands in midair with people who aren't there and forgetting things and all of that?
Beautiful. So are you guys open to a good faith conversation?
You guys heard what he just said, right? Are you guys open to a good faith conversation? So let's, from this point on, try to determine, is he actually arguing in good faith?
About that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's go piece by piece. Does Joe Biden sometimes lose his train of thought? Absolutely. Absolutely. There's no question about it. And he's close to 80 years old. If you compare Joe Biden today to Joe Biden when he ran circles around Paul Ryan in 2012, it's not the same guy.
Did that happen? I need to employ maybe indie film or somebody who was around for that. Like, did he run circles around Ron Paul I don't really he said Paul Ryan. Okay, never mind.
I have no problem saying that that's absolutely the case. No argument whatsoever. The shaking hands with midair video was a total joke. And I'll tell you the story about it. The weekend that story, the shaking hands with midair went.
Hey, we got Just Talk About It in the building. Welcome to the party. How are you doing? Good to see you. Welcome to the party. And just as I thought, Any Film said he did not run circles around anybody. I've never seen him and isn't he like a super major plagiarizer? Like any important speech that he's ever made was pulled from somewhere else. Like the only reason this guy is the president is because most people are too young to know all of the bullshit that he's done over the years. That's it.
I looked at the clip on my phone, and it was a very short clip where you just see Biden stop speaking. He turns to the side, and he goes like this. I said, oh, my goodness, this is terrible. Biden, he seems worse than Trump when Trump came off of his plane and his car was right in front of him, and Trump wandered off and was brought back by the arm by a Secret Service agent, and they said, here's your car.
So I want you to remember that he's comparing these two situations. Because I'm going to play this back. And I just want you to keep in mind that he's comparing these two situations. Again, we were talking about Biden's mental state, yet somehow we're back on Trump.
That's worse than when Trump had Rudy Giuliani sitting right across the table and said, where's Rudy?
And maybe I'll ask Rudy to say a few words.
Well, thank you very, very much, Mr. President. First of all, congratulations on what is in fact a historic start of an administration. I've never seen so much done in so short a period of time.
That Biden clip looked that. Yes, and I was going to report, guys, something seems wrong with Joe Biden.
Yes, it does.
And then I found the actual full VIF frame instead of the square Twitter video, and you could see what happened after. And Joe Biden had people to his right and to his back right and to his back. And he literally finished the speech and turned and said something to the people to the right. And then he turns back and he does the exact same thing. And then to the other side and does the exact same thing. So that was a non-story for me. It was a complete non-story.
I hear you.
So that's a non-story. I'll get to some of your comments and let's run this back. TV says, are you willing to have a good faith conversation? AKA, here comes bloviation. Exactly. I want you to talk to me. I want you to like me, not attack my logic. Exactly. And yeah, exactly. Brought back by the arm. So we can see, especially in the, so he gave two examples. He gave the walking away from the truck and he gave talking to Rudy Giuliani while he was right across the table. So, okay, these are not great moments, but it makes a lot of sense that when you're coming down the stairs of the plane, that you're looking out, you're seeing what's going on, and maybe there's somebody over there. The same way that Biden could be doing this and doing that. Why couldn't it be that Trump was going over to the other side? Then there's a whole bunch of cameras and people around and whatever they're talking about. You can see him look down. He's talking about something, and then it probably says on the paper, Rudy Giuliani. It says Rudy Giuliani. All right, where's Rudy Giuliani? And then he's looking up as if it's not like he was, where's Rudy Giuliani? I have no idea. I don't know. I don't know, man. Where could he be? I don't know. I don't get it. So you see that he has the ability to look at a broader context and to plug in information that would make this make sense. But when it comes to Trump, of course, all of that goes out the window.
Yeah,
David, I haven't done enough research, and I'll admit it readily that I don't know whether that's accurate, but I'm happy for the purpose of this discussion to accept that.
Fair.
But would you accept that Joe Biden mentally is not at his peak? I think you already have.
I already have, yeah.
So is that not a humiliation?
Well, when I say a humiliation, I go by what is global opinion of the United States. That's because
I'm sorry. Are we not on World War III right now? Are we suggesting that Putin had no interest in Ukraine the entire time Trump was in office? Is that what we're saying? Are we saying that all the immigrants that poured over the border the day that Biden became president, that they were just chilling? They had no desire to come here. But then they're like, oh, you know what? I could take a road trip. He says, I find it interesting. They always compare him to Trump. Why not Obama or Bush or the Clintons? Why is it only Trump? Because that, I'm sure you already know by making this comment, but you're exactly right. It's because that is the low-hanging fruit. That's the low-hanging fruit. Trump was a different kind of guy, and people don't like change. People don't like different stuff. So even if you're talking about something with Trump that he didn't even do anything wrong, because it's out of the ordinary, you can twist it to be like, oh, this guy can't handle anything. When we literally have, the bunghole, like, okay, great. That's one example where there was people there, maybe he was talking to them, maybe not, whatever. But what about the better calf care? What about all the lies about his son dying in Iraq? And I mean, you could go down the list. Find me a freaking speech that he's made with less than 5 gaps. You can't. So what are we talking about? What are we talking about? Dave says, because Trump was the previous president, he was very polarizing. It's easy to see why they compare the two. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, they all loved him. And they were in cahoots. That's why nobody did anything. And now evil Biden comes in. And even though he's super strong and he's super American, he couldn't stop all of these. Come on.
I'm one guy, right? And so I want to say, what does the world think? And we know because
that's fair, Jess.
Because of global Gallup studies and global Pew studies and others, that opinion of the United States as a country, of the US's ability to lead, of the president of the United States, it was in the toilet, to use a phrase Trump likes, to flush 10 or 15 times. Opinion was in the toilet under Trump, and it has recovered dramatically under Biden. So
has it though? I don't know about that. It kind of seems like everywhere in the world is like, oh, here's our chance. They got a weak president. Where were all of these people from 2016 to 2020? Were you worried about them? So to the earlier question about ignorant or liar, well, I guess we got our answer.
So I try to take myself out of it and just say, what does the world think? And there's a couple of exceptions. Russia liked Trump better than Biden. Again, this is not rhetorical. It's just
liked. But in the same way that, Trump has given praise to Putin as a strong leader, these are this is the semantic obfuscation. He liked Trump, or he what is like? We're not talking about like. These are politicians. These are heads of state that are at war. They're not buddies. David says most Americans think Biden has never done the most American thing Biden has ever done is signing his name to a bill that made mandatory sentences for nonviolent drug possessors in the 90s, back when he was still at his full mental capacity. Yep. Almost all presidents were like 70 years old. Yeah, that's another reason why I am not necessarily just going to give my vote away because there's 2 old dudes and one of them is going to be president. Like, okay, well, again, if you want my vote, you got to do better. Just being slightly less worse than the other guy does not get my vote. And I personally think if more people who were in the weeds, people who would otherwise vote, would think that way, then I think it would hold these politicians a lot more accountable. And they would really have to not only stop promising things that could never be, but following through on the promises they do make. I don't think that's too much to ask. You are a public servant. That is your job. Newsom is comparable to Obama. We'll see if he runs with Biden. I could see that. I don't. Oh my God. This next election is going to be an interesting one. Why do we hate toilets? What does that mean? Do we hate toilets? Bernard said, only thing Biden's run circles around is an adolescent girl with nice hair. Oh no. Evil says, peace in the Middle East, Europe, Taiwan. Tell me again which one, and his son, got millions from the Russian oligarchs in China? That would be Biden. Just in case you didn't know, that was Hunter Biden, and there was this company, Burisma. And just as we can only vote for who's on the ballot, it's not like a bunch of young people on the ballot. Exactly. More people need to be present in their local elections and the primaries so that there are better people to vote for. There are people on the ballot. If you just sit and wait for every 4 years to be like, okay, who did they put up? Then that's what you're going to get. Register to the party opposite of he who is in office. It doesn't matter what you believe or not believe. Register as a Republican so you can affect the Republican primaries, and then you will have better options in the general election. I must have missed it. Hey, we got Mike in the building. What is good? Welcome, brother. He said, "Is this the last election? In this last election was the first time I didn't vote since 18. I'm 50 now. The Republicans can't rely on not being Democrats for elections. You had to be principled." Exactly. I'm right there with you, Mike. Welcome to the party, buddy. Glad to see you. Everett says Biden forgot something. Compare it to Trump. Biden did something bad. Compare it to Trump. That's all it is.
Just the opinion polls. Russia did like Trump better than Biden. I think Turkey liked Trump better than Biden. And for this may be wrong, but I think I have Nigeria in my mind.
So I could this whole point about liking Trump. Maybe they liked Trump because the idea of a strong America creates the idea of a strong world. Like with Putin trying to take over Ukraine. Maybe that's why they liked him. That's such a vague word. And so again, this semantic obfuscation is using a word like. They liked him because people want to be liked. But I thought Trump got so much shit when people like Putin were seen to be liking him, or the other way around. So is being liked by Putin a good thing or a bad thing? Oh, whatever you want it to be, David. I see it. You are a true progressive. It's funny how people who want to talk about populist rhetoric never mention how popular Bernie was. Damn, that's a good point. Had the popular vote and then said, fuck that, we're running Hillary. And that is exactly why I was brainwashed into voting for her. I was a Bernie bro. And then I voted for that awful, awful woman.
Liked Trump better than Biden. But other than that, empirically, our global reputation has recovered dramatically under Biden. So that's my standard that I use.
False. Again, false. What am I, before I came around to realizing that the mainstream media was full of shit, I was very upset about maybe you guys remember this, when Trump was in talks with Kim Jong, whatever, North Korea. And he was saying, like, if they do anything, they're going to be met with fire and fury, and it's going to be something like they've never seen before. I'm sitting there like, bro, this is North Korea. What are you doing? You're going to get us in World War III. But it was Biden. It was Biden who got us into World War III. But he likes them. He likes them. So that doesn't really matter. All presidents are selling us a dream. Yep. Bernie was old too, but he connected with the young folk. The young folk.
Hey, Constantine.
Oh, hell no.
Get your blaze.
Who do still shopping for Trigger?
Case.
I'll see this on my video.
Days later, you get
28%
from digital
Trigger to find out. And do you not think that the problem with Trump was never the problem? He was a symptom of the problem, which is that a large part of working classes and the Rust Belt in particular felt alienated by the Democrats. They felt they weren't being represented by them.
Harley, what is Pew Research saying about this?
And that's why they voted, which shows that there is a real problem amongst that part of the left, that they can't connect with the working classes because the working classes don't feel that they have their best interests at heart.
And remember that before Trump, even as recently as Obama, even though he was a super corporatist, whatever, it was always that the left wing, the liberal wing, the Democratic Party, was the party of the working man. And it flipped overnight with Trump. Overnight. Because it wasn't, the Democratic Party wasn't looking out for the middle class. They were just better at making it look like they were looking out for the middle class.
So I would say a couple different things. I would say there is absolutely a problem with the Democratic Party, that it is not doing enough for the working class. I'm not a Democrat. I don't care about the party. I gladly concede that. What I see as the problem with Trump is,
why are we back on Trump?
I agree with the idea that Trump was a symptom rather than
Oh, okay, that's fair. They did ask that.
the problem. But for me, the problem was, if Trump doesn't have people who fall for his obviously false promises and complete lack of understanding of,
Unlike Biden's false promises, or again, as other people were saying, Obama's false promises, Bush's false promises. This is politics, bro. Are you new here? I remember my first time.
any issue. If people don't fall for that, Trump's the crazy guy yelling in the New York subway.
Mike says the problem with David Pakman is that he is a dogmatic progressive. Exactly. That is exactly why we are looking at this dude. Because unfortunately, he is a thought leader. Unfortunately, he has a decently successful show. I mean, I don't know what the numbers are, but people listen to him. People take these, and as much as these are just rhetorical talking points, he knows what he's doing. The people that listen to him, they don't know any better. So they just take this shit, swallow it whole, and this is all they know. That's all they know.
Right? The danger comes from the fact that in the United States, there are so many people who are either not engaged with politics at all, that when a celebrity pops up, they go, that sounds kind of good. I know.
That sounds like the left to me. I don't see a lot of that on the right. I don't see a lot of problems with celebrities coming out and talking about shit that they don't know about and people following it on the right. Do you?
Who Trump is. Or they're so, they lack knowledge of issues to such a degree that when they hear Trump say,
Again, this is the, oh yeah, everybody's too dumb to understand anything.
I'm going to fix trade by putting tariffs on China. And Trump doesn't even understand that it's American companies that pay the tariffs. And Trump starts saying, look at how much we charge China. And then his followers go, we charge China so much. And it's like, guys, it's the American companies that pay the tariffs.
I'm pretty maybe I misunderstood this this whole issue and the criticism he's levying, but I completely understood that it was American companies paying the tariffs. The idea was to bring manufacturing and stuff like that back to America. Was it not? So yes, the idea is we don't want these corporations that run the whole fucking country because they're in the back pocket of the government. We don't want them to be able to get away with outsourcing everything to another country, specifically a communist country, just because it's a little bit cheaper. That's not good for our culture and society. Is that Do I have that wrong? Is that not what the idea behind that was? It says 21-22 majority opinion ratings on the U.S. dropped between 11 and 30 points among 17 of the world's leading countries from 2021 to 2022. Is that what that means? Makes sense. Well, except for South Korea.
So when people don't understand stuff, they fall for people like Trump.
When people don't understand stuff, they fall for people like BLM or Gavin Newsom or Andrew Cuomo. Do I need to go on? Come on, bro. Come on. Why is it so common for people to act like whatever is going on in politics in general, the issues with politics, like money and corporations having an effect, why do they always act like it's only on one side? You preface this whole thing by saying, are you guys willing to have a good faith conversation? Does this seem like a good faith conversation to you?
And that to me is the problem, because without the cult members, you don't become a cult leader. You need followers to be a cult leader. And so I agree. BLM! Agree with you that Trump is emblematic as a symptom rather than actually being the problem. But my perspective is a little bit different as to why.
Okay, why is it? So Any Film says, again, Trump's false promises, manufacturers moved back to the U.S. It expanded security at the southern border, best job numbers and economy in 50 years. Moved the embassy to Jerusalem, the Abraham Accords. I mean, damn. Is 100% likes possible? It is free and easy to smash that like button. Thank you so much, 2B. You are 100% correct.
David, can I, in the spirit of a very good faith but honest conversation,
Please.
Can I feed back to you what it sounds like you just said from where I'm sitting?
Yes.
Which is, Francis was saying to you, there's a large portion of the American public who are so alienated by some of the rhetoric on the left that they had to resort to voting for Donald Trump. That's his argument. And what you said is, no, that isn't really the problem. The problem is Americans are ill-educated and quite stupid and fall for Trump's bombastic statements. That's what it sounds like. Did I hear you right?
Yes.
Yes, you did, sir. Actually, everybody who votes for Trump is very much dumber than I am, and I'm smarter than everybody in the world.
It's a combination of both.
I was joking. That was clearly a way for the Triggernometry dude to be like, hey, it kind of just sounds like you called half the country really stupid, but that's not what you meant, right? And he's like, no, yeah, that's exactly what I meant. All right, bro.
Okay.
Now, here's one thing
but isn't that sorry, David, just to finish this point, isn't that always the case, though? I mean, it's not like the public got massively more stupid and ill-educated in the last 4 years, right? Or the last 6 years. So, people have always, there's always been...
Well, I don't know about that. Humanity, by and large, has had such a huge change in the past 6 years. Like, I mean, in 2015, that was, humanity was at one place. But the de-evolution in the last 6 years. What are you talking about, bro? What are you talking about? So I've got some more numbers for us. Says, among those who say the U.S. is reliable, the drop in confidence in the U.S. president is much smaller, from a median of 84% in 2021 to 68% in the current survey. But Biden's better, right?
I don't know about that. I mean, I don't know how much you follow American education, but I think...
Now he's going to appeal to authority. Well, in America... Like, no, these are cultural issues that may have slight differences between the UK and the US, but especially when you're talking about Trump, that was a worldwide phenomenon. So don't hide behind the fact that you're American. David says, David Pakman just missed the whole point. The Dems have bleeding hearts for the poor in highly populated areas. They don't give a fuck about the poor in the boonies. That was the Trump voters he calls cult members. Exactly. And again, we understand that this is what he doesn't get. We can see his ignorance. But all he sees is that we are evil people were evil and stupid. Because why else could you possibly want to support somebody like this? I don't know, maybe like I'm in favor of the economy and I don't have to be buddy with the person who is the president. I just want them to run the country well. Uvalom says, Obama wins, genius voters. Trump wins, idiots. Biden wins, genius again. Oh, yeah, that's exactly what he's saying. That is exactly what he's saying.
Let me put it this way. It's beyond me to deeply dive into that specific niche of this discussion.
So what that means is, oops, I just said something that I can't back up. So, we don't actually have the proper resources to deeply dive and properly talk about the nuances of this specific niche of the discussion. You got, homie. You got. And now you're trying to back your way out of it.
I don't know about that. I mean, I don't know how much you follow American education, but I think, let me put it this way. It's beyond me to deeply dive into that specific niche of this discussion.
Why? That's fair. Maybe there's something so complex that it would derail the entire podcast. Sure. Okay. I'll give you that. Why can you not dive into it deeply? Why can't you just give us the elevator pitch? Oh, because you don't have one. Byron said the U.S. isn't running a popularity contest. I support U.S. isolationism, particularly in armed conflict. Yeah. Word around the campfire is China will collapse in 15 years. Well, fingers crossed.
But I think,
I don't know. I don't know. I assume that'll be good in some respects.
I think there are many who would make the case that actually the American public on average has become less educated over time.
Okay, let's. I don't want to argue
Americans are dumb.
with that.
That's what he just said.
Wouldn't you accept that these movements, these right-wing populist movements, we also had this here in the UK with Brexit, and it's an issue that probably I don't want to assume, but you may know less about it than we do, and certainly
Yes.
we would say in this country that the same arguments were made. These are stupid, racists, whatever people. But actually, if you speak to a lot of people who voted this way, which we didn't, neither of us did, but if you speak to those people, their concerns were not based around ill education or whatever, but it was there were some issues that they were raising that were not being reflected in the public debate, that were dismissed. And certainly from our perspective, it seemed like there were some parallels with the United States. So it's not that people got more stupid or less educated. It's more that their concerns were being more and more ignored by the left-wing parties. And they were desperate for some kind of way out, which is why they voted for Brexit and which is why they voted for Trump.
Perfect analysis. That yes, absolutely. When it comes to both Brexit, when it comes to Trump, absolutely. There was way more uninformed voters than you have seen in recent history. Sure, I will grant you that. But to act like that is the overwhelming reason that Brexit happened, or the overwhelming reason that Trump was elected, is just dishonest. It's straight up bad faith argumentation. What did I leave off? So Mike says, falling for stupid stuff like 5 black cops and killing a black guy, and it's called white supremacy. Yep. Ron Rod says that American bombastic attitude is what kept him from speaking German. Yep. Holly says, oh, really? Because we have the #1 education rating in the entire world. I did not know that. And even with all the bullshit that's in our schools, we have #1. Like, are you sure? I feel like Japan probably would be #1 or something like that. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, David. I don't gotta wait for it to pop up here. What? That's the YouTube to StreamYard delay. Anybody worry about it? Yeah, I don't know if that's true. But I would love to see some stats on it, because like Japan, China, this place has got to be like up there with the education. I mean, American education sucks.
That's absolutely valid, and I have no qualms with that. That's what took place. I think the reason I'm skeptical to accept that the reason for Trump was that Democrats have abandoned the middle class is that more Democrats crossed party lines to vote for John McCain in 2008 than the number that crossed party lines to vote for Trump in 2016. And so I hesitate to say that that was the particular reason because the numbers don't bear it out.
No,
I
but
believe it.
Hey, we got Dan Jensen in the building. What is good? What is good, brother? Welcome to the party. Glad you are here. Dan says, and the best you can come up with is Trump, Biden, Hillary, and so on. As long as we continue to allow this lesser of two evils to continue happening and happening and happening, not only will it continue to happen, but it will get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. Because all you have to do is be better than the bare minimum. The bare minimum. So go ahead. You do. It's your life, guys. Keep voting for people that you hate. Keep voting for people that are lying to you. Just because there's somebody else that's lying to you more, or there's somebody else that's lying to you in a way that you don't like. Keep going. Keep doing that. See how that works for the future of our country.
Okay.
Sorry to interrupt, but the thing is, you said yourself what Trump did and what Brexit did is it brought a lot of non-voters out of the shadows, if you like. So,
Exactly.
So what actually happened is these people who stopped voting for the Democrats and for Labour years and years ago because they felt like these parties stopped representing them. We have a Labour Party here in the UK that stopped representing working people, they would argue, a long time ago. And finally, a movement came along that actually represented them. So it's not the McCain Democrats we're talking about.
Exactly.
Here. We're talking about people who are non-voters for decades, perhaps, who are now back in the fold because they're finally seeing someone represent their views. That's the argument.
Exactly. Hey, we got Trey in the building. What is good? What is good? Glad to have you here, buddy. Trey says, Google said, as of 2021, we are indeed ranked number 1 on in the educational system. Wow, that is impressive. Go America! Thank you for giving us that stat, Harley, and thank you for backing it up, Trey. Glad to see you, buddy. Harley goes on to say, when it comes to specific topics, other countries do better, but overall, our education is rated the best. Actually, now that I think about it, we get a lot of Asian students coming over to gotta go to college here. So maybe, education overall, that does make a lot of sense. The higher learning institutions, and I mean, there's problems there too, but that's a story for another day. But thank you, guys.
So that's an empirical question, which I don't have the data in front of me to say. I've not seen any data that suggests that 20 years inactive Democrats are who came out to vote for Trump. You're making that assertion. I can't deny that happened.
It did.
Just seen no.
I mean, even though I personally didn't vote for him, a lot of the people that I know that did vote for him some of them were lifelong Republicans. My dad was one of the, not one of the first people, but like the early stages of Trump's presidency when everybody thought it was still a joke. My dad was like, hey, I think he's going to win. And I laughed in his face. Why? Because I was watching MSNBC and CNN and I thought I knew everything in the world, and that somebody that would follow Trump or think that Trump had anything to offer must be stupid. Guess who is stupid? Me. I love this time around. And Mike, I love this. You need to stop teaching kids what to think and teach them how to think. Exactly. Need to teach kids to be autodidactic. That would be cool. That would be great. I mean,
evidence, and unfortunately, without the data, it's hard to engage with it any further.
You got a source on that? Like, bro, just pay attention to people. Instead of sitting in your studio and reading news and then just spewing out that news, talk to people. This is a commonly spoken of sentiment. People that were either independent or Democrats or didn't vote or whatever. The first time they voted was for Trump. Why is that? Is that because Trump was so amazing? Or, as the Triggernometry guys have proposed, is it because he is the symptom of a larger problem? And so continuing to treat him like the problem itself is bullshit. It's just not going to get you anywhere. Even Film says, I bet if I went through this guy's Twitter, he would have been wrong on Russia collusion, Covington, Catholic kids, the NASCAR news, Jesse Smollett, Kyle Rittenhouse, very fine people on both sides. I think you are right. Dave Banner says that article says USA is #1 in education based on a survey. Too easy. It literally says right underneath the U.S. ranks 38 in math and 24 in science right underneath that. Well, it was said that in specific areas, other countries do better, but overall, America's #1. And again, that makes sense. That makes sense. That the highest, like your average public school is bullshit. But you have your Harvard and Yale and this and that and all around the country. You don't have higher learning institutions like that all around the world. I mean, you've got like Cambridge in the UK. But exactly. Apparently we whooping some ass like we do. That's how we do.
Okay, so that's fair enough. So, David, what do you think as a person or as on the left when it comes to globalization? Because in many ways you could argue that globalization is a positive. We get goods cheaper, etc., etc. But also as well, it means that we don't produce enough at home. We've lost our manufacturing bases, and that means that you then have towns which become disenfranchised because they have no factories, manufacturing, etc., etc., and then creates the types of areas that will vote for a right-wing populist such as Trump.
Yup.
Yeah.
He had that. He hit that the nail on the head. One of the biggest strongholds for Trump was in Michigan, in Detroit. The whole GM debacle, where that GM kept that GM kept that town running. Everybody worked at that factory, and they shut it down, moved it overseas, and then nobody cared. Even though the Democrats talk about, oh, we want to help you and all the people that can't, this, that, whatever, because it wasn't in a city, because they weren't black, because they weren't trans, because they weren't whatever, because they were white men, didn't matter. They're no longer working class. They now have privilege, and they don't deserve anything. Unlike the people in the cities who have no desire to help the country and decide that, well, I'm just going to go into CVS and just rail the entire shelf into a garbage bag in broad daylight. Those people, we need to let that happen because they're all Aladdin.
I am basically with you 95% with what you just said. The last piece, and it logically leads to people voting for Trump. Let's put that aside for now, at least, and
because I don't have a good response to that, and it actually sounds really good, and I know that you're right, and that doesn't really work for my brand. So let's put that aside for a second.
maybe we can come back to that. So my view on globalization is as follows. Generally speaking, I am in favor of specialization. At a basic economics, macroeconomic level, I understand the reason why we would have circumstances where one country doesn't just produce everything. There's trade. I believe trade is a net positive. I believe specialization is a net positive.
And with that,
I think the problem I have with a lot of the conversation about domestic versus import when it comes to a number of different products, services, industries is that there's a sort of naivete where both Republicans and Democrats in the United States love to say, we're going to bring it back home. It's going to be made in the USA. We're going to bring it here. We're going to be independent, this type of thing. And the truth is that through cumulative economic policy decisions over 30 or even 40 years, dating
new poll dropped
back to, Ronald Reagan, the United States has chosen, and I mean chosen, again, not one person didn't decide this, but the cumulative effect of decisions has been, we would rather get stuff from other countries and be able to buy it for less in the United States.
Who's we? Who's we? Now, sure, I don't make a lot of money. I would like to buy to the things that I want to buy. I would like them to be lower, as low of a price as possible. But at what cost? At what cost? if China and Russia are going to take over the world, I don't really care about saving 20% of my groceries. So this is a completely out of context response. Trey says, I think globalization started out as a way to kind of ease the tension that is all the countries have. The tension is that all the countries have each other. So they started sharing their goods. But once they found that it was cheaper labor, they basically sent all the jobs over there to make more money and kind of screwing over our production value. Yeah. And that's why when people like Trump want to bring manufacturing back to this country, and maybe prices will go up in certain ways, but you will also have a job, a better job to pay for those things. That is what we call the economy. It's the economy, stupid. David says, globalization will only lead to automating our peasant jobs. Sure won't mean that everybody gets their fair share. 100% agree with you. 100% agree with you.
Rather than manufacturing.
Let's back that. Oh, I forgot what he said.
Rather, the person didn't decide this, but the cumulative effect of decisions has been, we would rather get stuff from other countries and be able to buy it for less in the United States, rather than manufacturing here. And maybe this would create some jobs, but everything would be a lot more money. So,
maybe it would create some jobs, and that's completely irrelevant to things being more expensive. It's better that, nobody has a job and everybody's in poverty, but stuff is really cheap. I have a job. I don't care. But the left is the party of the working class, right? Talk about speaking from a point of privilege. Mike says, we may not have the best education in the world. Well, technically we do. But we have freedom to do the things that other countries all allow, even that other countries do allow or don't allow. All allow, even with the education they have. That's why we're number one. I'm with it, baby. I'm with it. USA.
So I often say, cheap tchotchkes from China are a really important thing in the American economy. And
was he being sarcastic? Because that goes against his argument. Because, of course, these Chinese tchotchkes are not an important thing. I don't.
But everything would be a lot more money. So
yes.
I often
more jobs and more money. That is a booming economy.
Say, cheap tchotchkes from China are a really important thing in the American economy. And so when Trump would say, we're going to make it all domestically, or when Biden says we're going to make it all domestically, number one, these are like multi-decade projects to change supply chains on a lot of these things. And there's not sort of like just upfront thing where like everything's going to cost more.
So what?
And most Americans don't want that because,
No, most Americans don't want things costing more without making more money. Do you think that people would be mad if they were making twice as much money as they were and stuff went up by 15%? No, right? People would be ecstatic about that. But David Pakman here, is expecting you to be too dumb to understand that. And so when he talks, most Americans want lower prices. Okay, yes. But Americans also want jobs and would prefer to have well-paying jobs and pay a little bit more than not have a job and be in poverty and have to go to the government to say and save 15%. I'm just throwing that number out there. But like this is the tactics. This is the bad faith argument. And if he had never said that, what do you guys think? Let's see how many votes we got here. So we got 9 votes, and most of you, it's pretty even. But 55 said ignorant, and 44% said dishonest. I'm going with dishonest. So if that's 10 votes, that's probably 50-50 straight up. He's not stupid. He's not stupid. He knows exactly what he's doing. He knows exactly how he's coming across, and he is specifically preying on people who are dumber than you and me to be able to, get his message across and make money off of it. So Harley says, so the same people who demand we raise wages, here we go. The same people who demand we raise wages are the same ones who would rather we exploit others off their cheap labor. I have nothing to add to that. That's a great question. That's a great question. I would love for him to answer this question. It doesn't make sense. It only makes sense in the moment for the point that he's trying to make at that time. That is how leftists speak. There is no principle. There is no values that they hold. It's just about winning power. And in this context, power is, winning the exchange. Mike says, this is why we need to keep the Electoral College. So California and New York don't run the country, that the middle of the country has a voice. 100% agree. David said, no, Lunch, you don't understand. Because the population is so stupid, they can't comprehend that things can be better. Oh, I forgot about that. You're right. I'm so dumb. So dumb. Just like David thinks I am.
Half of Americans can't afford an unexpected $400 expense.
I also kind of feel like that's bullshit, but I don't know the numbers on that. Like $400, really? $400? We got Evan Yeager in the building from Twitch. Welcome. So I do not have much of an opinion on geopolitical things like that because I don't feel like it is easy to get accurate information at all. I don't think we're going to know really what's going on for years. So, I mean, I don't think it's great that we're over I don't want to be involved in it at all. But clearly we are, and that's a bad thing. So I hope it can get resolved in any possible way. But welcome to the party. Glad you are here, Evan. If you want to join us on YouTube, the link is right there. Exactly. He's not confused at all. He is purposely trying to confuse you. That is exactly what it is. Exactly. Hit the nail on the head. Just I slightly disagree. I don't think a lot of them wholeheartedly believe in their ideology. When I think of the left, I think of the term ignorance is bliss. That's how they all come off. Yes. But they get that ignorance. They are comfortable in that ignorance because of people like the Young Turks and David Pakman who present them with this neatly packaged narrative. So they never need to question anything. So even if it's people aren't like stupid as in unintelligent, they're ignorant because they just swallow what they hear whole. There's no critical thinking. These the Pakman type people act as if they've done the critical thinking for you. They've done the critical thinking for you, and you can just lap it up. I've done the work for you guys. Hey, we got Chester in the building. Welcome to our resident Aussie. How are you doing, brother? Glad you're here. Said his ideas only work in a socialist economy. He's advocating for a Chinese economy with a democratic government, and those things can't work together. Yeah, agreed. Welcome, brother. Glad you're here. Ellen says, fair enough. I don't think most people are nearly privy enough to have an educated opinion on it. That's why I don't be saying shit. I have never talked about I've never done a stream on it. I may have my opinions in general about, being interventionist or anti-interventionist and whatever, but I don't know what's going on over there. Who does? David says he's trying to say things are the way I think, but I don't vote, so don't hold me accountable for my views. I mean, I'm kind of in that same boat, but I'm just honest about it. Just says the $400 emergency that half the country apparently can't afford is a stat that's been debunked by actual justice warrior, and as you would suspect, it is completely false. That's what I thought. $400? Like, I'm broke as shit. But I can afford $400. And I'm barely working right now. And this is our first stream that is monetized. So feel free to hit that super chat button. And I mean, come on. Like, come on. David said, just like Hassan Piker. Yep. I'm anti-capitalist, but I'm a multimillionaire that's benefited from it in like every way. And like, if you don't think that that's okay, then like you're full of shit and you're a piece of shit and you're getting blocked from my stream. So bye.
So
Yeah.
I'm totally fine with the basic framework.
All right, Everett, thank you for hanging out. Appreciate you being here. Hope to see you on the next one every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Have a good one. Harlan says, where does he get the idea that 165.95 million people can't afford a $400 expense? How poor does he think people are? Probably as stupid as he thinks they are.
That even if you just account for geographical and climate differences, like most countries can't produce everything. And
who said we were trying to get every country to produce everything?
The honesty that I wish were that's missing, that I wish were part of the discussion is we can start bringing supply chains back home and isolating, et cetera, but everything will get way more expensive.
But we will also have more money to buy the expensive stuff with.
And then whoever's in power will get blamed for that too.
Okay, but people will blame whatever the circumstances are. The president is getting blamed for shit. That's irrelevant. We could live in the most utopian society ever, and people, especially Americans, will still have something to complain about. So the fact that you're talking about, oh, well, somebody's going to get blamed, so we shouldn't do it. Hey, Indie Film, thank you so much. I appreciate that. It is quite easy. Just saying.
Yeah, you're never going to get a simple solution to a very complex problem. But don't you think what happened when and look, it depends where you stand on whether the virus was created in a lab in Wuhan and all of that. And the answer it might be that you don't agree with that.
Well, I'm just saying, do we have any evidence that it was created in a lab right now?
Bruh. Do we have any evidence that the Wuhan virus that came from Wuhan, China, where there's a lab where they study, those type of things? You can't be this ignorant. You cannot be a political commentator and be this ignorant. You just can't. You just can't. I am dumber. Well, maybe not dumber, but I'm less informed than he is. For sure. No evidence? Even your liberal king, what's his name? Jon Stewart was on Colbert. It's like, come on. Right across the street from the lab, but yeah, it came from a cat or a bat in a wet market. Come on. Thank you again, Indie Films. So Trey says, I honestly don't think a lot of people can afford a $400 expense at the immediate time. I think a lot of it would probably have to wait till I got paid, so I can kind of understand. Really? I mean, I don't want to blow anybody's spot up, but you're telling me that if, heaven forbid, something happened with the family and you had to go to the emergency room, and it was $400, that would ruin you? Or would you just have to put it on a credit card and, maybe buy a few less beers, buy a little less weed? That's what we're talking about. We're talking about being ruined by $400, an unexpected expense. It doesn't matter how much money you make. A $400 unexpected expense is an inconvenience. That's not what the argument is. David agrees, I guess. I mean, I don't know. You guys tell me. So yeah, things are getting more expensive. Corporate greed, exactly. And I'd say there's much more evidence it was created in a lab than it wasn't. There we go. $400 in the Midwest in some places can hit you in the nuts. Okay, so maybe it's a regional thing. Because like I live in Jersey, so it's a relatively expensive state. I get paid a decent wage, but work's been super slow. But I also do have family. So maybe I'm just outside that. And hey, can't always be right. So I guess I'm wrong.
I mean, there are some people who believe
Very
that.
credible.
Oh,
They're
there's
very
people
credible.
who believe the Earth is flat. What I'm saying is, do we have evidence that that is the case?
We have a very prominent scientist saying that that's the case. But look, let's not have this argument. I'm
It's
so
just
done
tough
with
to
COVID.
allow that to be placed as an
But-
aside, you know?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
we hear that you disagree with that assertion. Can we?
Fair.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you, Harley. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's the point. Of course, there are people who are in poverty, but half the country. I'm just saying. Whoever said it with, I don't remember what it was, but the idea of the numbers, yeah, it just defies common sense. It doesn't work like that's not. I'm not saying there's zero people who would be ruined by $400, but it's not half the country. It's just not.
So, but what I was saying was the fact that if you have people who you are in hock to or produce, like for instance with China, they produce a huge amount of antibiotics. Do you not think that it would be better from a security point of view to then have that back in the United States, for example, or to have that with countries who you are allied to?
I'm completely sensitive to that logic. That in many ways that's perfectly logical. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I think
do you
we
mind
just
if I-
also
Yeah.
have to be
Yeah.
honest about the effect it could have on price.
Oh, sure,
yeah,
it's going to cost
absolutely.
more, but that sometimes you
Yeah.
have to pay more for security. I mean,
I don't disagree.
Look at Germany and Russian gas right now, and again, don't need to get into that.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So, David, let's talk about culture. I know that it's not necessarily a big thing for you, but in terms of some of the things we've been putting to you that we are sensitive to, which is how
So before he goes into that, saying that culture is not a big deal to you is a way to posture yourself as above the issues that people like us care about. Like these, you have preemptively decided that these issues don't matter, and therefore it is lowly to get into these arguments. You know, stuff about the trans stuff, or you know, I mean, pick a lot of the racial stuff, any of the stuff that the left really harps on culturally. He's trying to say, oh, even though he would agree that, you know, you're a transphobe if you don't believe this, that, or the other. He agrees with all that. But he just says, oh, it doesn't matter to me. I care about the things that really matter. Okay. Just say the survey continues after. So the original survey was compiled of multiple questions. The first question would cover a $400 emergency expense completely using cash or its equivalent. Like I said, I do not have $400 cash on me right now. But as an adult, I have a credit card. Yeah, survey goes down and breaks that all down. I agree. Definitely not as simple as it's been portrayed. And good point, David. Much like all things, but it sounds like a leftist talking point. It sounds like a talking point. It takes this guy 10 words to say yes. Culture matters. If culture goes bad, your life is bad. Exactly. So that's he's preempting and saying, oh, I don't really care about it. He said that before. So they're trying to get into that conversation, but saying that, you know, they're acknowledging that. So.
Let's talk about culture. I know that it's not necessarily a big thing for you, but in terms of some of the things we've been putting to you that we are sensitive to, which is how culture affects how people feel about their country, about the party that they want to vote for, about the direction of travel of their society. I would probably chart 3 issues on which a lot of people in our space, which is perhaps disaffected lefties or people who are sort of centrist like me, or people who are right-leaning, that have been concerned about and feel are important and are not being discussed honestly in the mainstream space, let's say, right? I think number 1, certainly in the UK, you tell me what you think about the United States, but number 1 is immigration. Number 2 is race relations and all the stuff to do with BLM and all of that. And number 3, as of late, these sort of big toxic issues is, of course, the trans issue.
So those are the three cultural things that they're going to focus on: immigration, racism, and the trans. That's the second thing you said, right? Race relations. Maybe out of it, but that's what they are focusing on. And again, agree with Mike there. Divine Rod said $400 would cut into my WWW budget: whiskey, weed, and women. But would it break you?
Okay, so sure, those are three issues. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going somewhere with that. I just wanted to get confirmation.
What a smarmy piece. I hate this guy.
That
Those
I don't hate him, but I strongly dislike him.
are issues that exist. Absolutely.
those
Yes.
are issues that exist. And what I am asserting to you is there are quite a lot of people, certainly here in the UK, and I know that in America it's the same in some circles, that feel very strongly about those issues, and they feel that the mainstream conversation about those issues is dishonest. So if we start in reverse order with the trans thing, can I, it's a dick move to ask you this, but can I ask you to define a woman? Is that okay?
Yeah. So listen, I mean, I did a whole thing with this right-wing guy named Michael Knowles.
Oh, so, somebody named Michael Knowles. Where do we know? They just reference a Daily Wire thing. Well, this right-wing guy.
A little while ago,
Okay.
where we were talking about the definition of a woman, and the context was the Ketanji Brown Jackson hearings and her refusal to answer. And there,
No, I can't answer what a woman is because I am a woman.
I got my job because I'm a woman, but I don't know.
I argued that makes perfect sense because they're asking in a legal context. The question is who can bring a discrimination lawsuit on the basis of gender, and I thought she was right not to answer it. And I made the point that depending on where you're asking the question, the answer could actually be different. Now, I'm glad to give.
No, a woman is a woman. A woman is an adult human female. That's it. Any film says, sure, those are words you have said, and those issues are things that exist. Equals yes. Yeah, he's just spewing bullshit. And because he has a way to package it in a way that sounds like he's being intelligent to those who are not intelligent, that's his job. That's how he makes his living. By turning the word yes into sentences like this. That is his whole job. And people pay him lots of money for it. Women have nuts too, bro. That's transphobic. I'm sorry.
Give my view of this socially, if that's okay.
Sure.
Yeah, of
Okay.
course. Go
So
for it.
this is, again, and the problem with this, and I know you guys would never do this because you seem so honest. The problem is
Good faith, right?
that sometimes this question is then used to put someone in a corner. So I will say in advance that the definition I have will not work in every setting.
I'm going to give you a little bit of a spoiler. It's not going to work in this setting either.
Okay. Like, for example, the definition I have in an OBGYN's office may not work because we
Why?
recognize biological differences, right?
Okay, so we recognize biological differences. Okay, so now we're on the same page. So if we recognize biological differences and a woman is a category of biological differences, we should be able to very easily answer this question by the biological factors that you're talking about in the OBGYN office, right?
Right. But for me, the broadest way where I think about who am I going to relate to as a woman, it would be somebody who I identify as
a woman
deliberately trying to exist in the world as a woman. And so if I see a
How long is this going to go on? This is something we learned in elementary school. You cannot use the word to define the word. A woman is a woman. That's what we call a tautology. But, you know, in regular English, it means nothing. You said nothing. Not even yes. So far, you've been doing what indie film is talking about. What you just did was not even this. this would be a perfectly fine answer. This would also be a perfectly fine answer. But instead, exactly, David, we get the word salad. This is a respected name in progressive news. A respected name. Why? Why?
Logical man who, and again, we
Exactly, Chester.
have to talk about this in candid ways, which some people might not like, but I think it's necessary.
Sounds like you're the one who doesn't like talking about it in candid ways. A woman is an adult human female. You seem very uncomfortable with that. That's what we call projection. So you have a discomfort, but we're still wrong. So you can just project that discomfort onto us. So that's actually the best answer I've ever heard. I've heard anyone give on the left to that question. Really? Oh, because they're all equally bad? Yeah, I agree. Like I know the two British guys say they're from the left, but the left I know would not have anything to do with them. Yep, that is an accurate observation of the movement of the Overton window. That's exactly what it is. I was a liberal. And then liberal came to mean something very different. And so I am no longer a liberal. Hey, we got Alex Pickus in the building. What is good? What is good? Welcome to the party. Welcome. Glad to see you. Yes, please. If you have not already done so, please hit the like button. And thank you, friend. Thank you and welcome. David Pakman doesn't know what a woman is.
If I see me with a wig on, it's not going to be apparent to me that that's someone who is necessarily trying to exist in the world as a woman if they go by the name David and their voice is like mine and they dress like me. So
So that would be transphobic, because if that person, we all got a doppelganger, right? How do you know your doppelganger is just a super low effort trans woman? You wouldn't, because they look like you wouldn't, it's not transphobic for you not to accept that they're a woman? Come on, man. This does not make sense. Just said, to be fair to the left, J.K. Rowling does have a good answer. It's a shame not as many people on the left agree with her. But she's a good example that not everyone on the left is completely insane. But I agree with you. But when we talk about the left, she is ousted from the left. She is not on the left, according to the people who consider themselves the left. And that's exactly what Mike was saying. That like I would still consider myself a liberal based on what that meant in 2015. It's just that doesn't mean that anymore because of semantic obfuscation. Identifying as a woman and being a woman are two different things. Well said, Harley. Well said. You said left side of the screen, intellectually honest. Right side, not so much. Oh, but he said he was going to have a good faith conversation. What do you mean? I thought we were in a good I have no idea what you mean.
Just going to make the best faith effort I can, where if it's indicated through a number of different cues that someone is trying to exist in the world as a woman, I'll relate to them as a woman. That's fine. It just doesn't bother me.
Oh, sure. And in fact, I am kind of where you are in the sense that we've had a shit ton of trans people on the show.
And let me guess, they never misgendered them or anything because, they're just normal people. They're not transphobic. They just don't agree with the ideology that you are spinning. So, and David, I was telling you. Kelly Green says surprised because she had to solve the coagula tattoo. Are you talking to me? Oh, J.K. Rowling. I don't know what that tattoo is. So, shouts to her. I don't know what that is. Sorry.
And we call them by whatever name they have and the pronouns that they've chosen. Right? I've got no issue with that. Sure. However, my issue is that in and again, this is me being straight with you. I hope you don't take offense to what I'm saying.
Please.
In your refusal to give a definition that is equally applicable in different circumstances, you're kind of avoiding the difficult elements of this, right?
Well, the difficult elements are exactly that. Which, if okay, sorry, I interrupted. No, go ahead.
And let me. I know you know where I'm going, but let me just give the example so people know what we're talking about. So we have a number of cases here in the UK, for example, and I know you've had some in the US.
I guarantee you, I don't even know what he's going to talk about, but I would bet all the money that you guys have so graciously sent me on this this chat. We're up to $89.70. Thank you guys so much. I will bet every single cent of that, including the money that Google's going to take from that they're going to give him an example. He said in the UK, for example, I know whatever he's about to say. I guarantee you he's going to push that off as, oh, well, that's just one edge case, or that's one extreme this, or that's always what they do. They always ask, well, where's that happening? It's happening right here. Oh, well, that's just one example. Okay, it's also happening over here. Well, that's just one other example. Like, can't have it both ways.
As well, where a trans woman who still has a male anatomy has been housed in a female prison and has gone on to commit sexual assault against women in prison, right? Okay. We obviously have had trans women in female sports where they, in my opinion, have an unfair advantage. And there are other situations in which our failure to give a clear, like, universal definition means that women in particular, in this very instance, are suffering the consequences of our social unwillingness to be quite hardline about it. Would you agree with that?
Well, that's what in.
So before he goes on, Chester makes a great point here. It's strange the opposite question, whereas a man isn't asked in the same context. Because if the same answer applies, then everyone is everything and nothing, and both, and words are meaningless. Yeah.
In a court, they would say that that's a compound question, and we've really got to break down each of those, because whether
in a court they would say that. No, I don't know. I don't know how to have a conversation because I'm too far away from my talking points.
I agree with everything you said. I don't know. So let's. I'm not even sure where to start. So okay. I mean, in prison, there was a sexual assault by a biological male housed with women. Okay, I don't know the story. We have a country of 331 million in the United States, so you can find examples sort of everything. Sexual assault by biological females of other females in American prisons is really common. So for me, what I go to is
that true? Yo, I'm about to go get arrested as a woman.
Less about, trans people, I think, are 1/3 of 1% of the population in the US. I may be slightly off about that, but let's use that as a working number.
Mike, he would definitely agree with this.
For me, every assault is bad.
Sure.
And
Wow. What an upstanding citizen. To him, all assaults are bad. I'd never thought to take that position before. I said, no, it's not a compound question. It's actually a human rights violation to house men with women in prison. Well, not according to the leftists.
Bigger issue is American prisons are terrible at keeping inmates safe. And I apply that to men's prisons and women's prisons.
That's a cop-out. Any film says, exactly. The left wants to destroy language so they can control language and control you. He's not heard about the case of 2 women prisoners who were impregnated by a trans prisoner. I think that might be what they're talking about right now. But again, even if that is even if that is what he is talking about, I guarantee you, he's going to push it aside.
Sure, but you're deflecting here, aren't you?
I don't think. And so, but let me go further.
Let me give you the reverse of your argument, right?
No, but I wasn't even done.
Cops shooting black.
I wasn't even done.
Yeah, but you were making a stupid argument that happens all the time. So we know what you're going to say because it is a commonly used dumb argument and we have debunked it before.
Black people is bad, but the real problem is something else, and we shouldn't talk about the cops shooting black people.
No,
That's
no,
kind
no,
of
no,
what it
that's
sounds
not
like.
the argument I'm making whatsoever.
Okay, sure, go ahead. Sorry.
So the point that I'm making is, because what you're saying is, I guess it depends on what you say the other issue really is. That you didn't get to the end of that, and so I don't
Black
know
on black
whether
crime. That's the right-wing argument. Black on black crime is the real thing. Forget about cops shooting black people.
right,
It's
but
all
those are
about black people
totally
shooting each
different
other.
things.
Are they though? Because y'all are the ones who always bring that up. And so when you have an issue with people dying, when you have an issue with homicides and you focus on the police, when most of the homicides that happen are not from the police, then it's not a good position. So the problem here is that people have bought into gender ideology. If we all simply accept there's no such thing as gender like we all did till the 50s, there would be no argument here. Yeah, I think it's just people are so desperate to have an identity, and people are boring. And so they're like, okay, well, here's a that's a thing that'll make me interesting. So, okay, I'm that now. And that's my whole identity.
What I'm saying is violence in prison is a major problem. And I don't deny that an added layer of complexity is in which prison should a trans person be. I don't pretend to have the answer in all cases. I don't pretend to have the answer. I'm conceding it's very complicated. But
is it complicated?
Is it though?
If you have a penis, should you be in a female prison?
Well, but not everybody who's a trans woman has a penis.
Whoa. Did anybody say anything about trans? The question was, if you have a penis, should you be in a woman's prison? Hey, we got Darshawn McAway in the building. Thank you so much for the $5 super chat. It is working. Thank you so much. Glad to see you. Please feel free to drop your channel. Darshawn McAway was just on with Coach Greg Adams doing the damn thing. Welcome, brother. Glad to see you. Thank you so much. Let's get back into that, and I'll come back to those.
But these people did, and they were in female prisons, both in your country and in ours.
I just don't know the case. I don't know the answer.
See? Cop out.
Should a person with a penis, though, be in a female prison?
That's it. You don't need to know the case. It is a question that you are now being presented. You never have to have thought of it before. I'm asking you right now, David, to think about this question. Well, no.
It's I would have to know more about how these decisions are being made. I don't.
You are the one making the decision. It's in your brain. You just decide. That is the question.
Know enough about how the decisions are made to be able to say.
Cop out.
Listen, let me put it a different way. And I don't know if anecdotes, we're both being so anecdotal that I don't know if this is even useful, but
then shut the fuck up. Thank you again, Darshawn. Chester says they're obsessed with labels. We all have an identity. It doesn't need extra labels. Yep. And one label shouldn't have more legal rights than another label. It's esoteric and nonsense. 100% agreed. 100% agreed. David says identity politics obfuscates the real issues at hand, like how wages have stagnated. Ali says it's not complicated. If you have male genitalia, you cannot be housed with those who do not. Wow. I think we just solved the issue, guys. Shout out to Darshawn. Definitely, please go check out his channel. Great streamer over there. And like I said, he was just on with Coach Greg Adams doing the damn thing, getting those collabs. Indie Film says, let me put it another way. That doesn't mean the answer. That doesn't answer the question. That's exactly how leftists do it. That's what it is. That's the game. Just says complicated if you buy into gender ideology. If you don't accept it, it is so simple. It is so simple. It absolutely is. We've done it since the dawn of time. They have nothing better to do than to cause problems. Mike says, these are all first world problems. Guarantee they're not arguing about gender in the third world countries where they're just trying to take care of their needs. Yeah, because it's not real.
There are many instances where I could show you a picture of someone and describe their height and weight to you, and it would be very hard to argue that they should be in a men's prison for their own safety.
I'm not arguing for that. We've had trans people on the show who say we need to make provisions so that trans people are in a separate facility.
Uh-oh! Somebody has an answer to your talking points.
Where they're going to be safe from males who otherwise would potentially be a danger to them, right?
So trans people, there's like a third prison for trans people.
That's what some people have argued on our shows. I'm not saying you take someone who identifies as a trans woman and you stick them with men, because I don't think it would end well for them. So
Okay.
I don't lack compassion. What I'm trying to get at with you is, do you envisage circumstances under which it is right to put a person with a penis in a female prison?
I can envisage a theoretical circumstance.
Envisage? You can envisage. I wish I could envisage. If I could envisage, I would envisage all goddamn day.
Where it's the best of the options that are available. Yeah. I mean, right now there are no third prisons for trans people. And so if you say to me, what is more like, I mean, like, listen, let's just be very upfront. If you have a trans woman that is biologically male and has a penis, but is slight in size and has a very feminine appearance, by all statistical likelihood, they are far less likely to assault someone in a women's prison than they are to be assaulted in a men's prison. And
that doesn't matter to the woman who's getting assaulted, or the man who's getting assaulted, or the trans person who's getting assaulted. That is a esoteric academic argument for a very practical, real situation. Holly's got it. Looks have nothing to do with it. All that matters is what genitalia do you have. David says, Pakman jumped to them not being compassionate. Seems like good faith still. Is it though? 2B says, want to tuck my kids out and we're locking up pictures. Yeah, you know, we're on the trans issue, and the question is, if you have a penis, should you be in a woman's prison under any circumstances? That is the question.
And so that's a particular case where I would say it makes sense for them to be in a women's prison. Yes.
Okay. We could go around for hours, but look.
But before we move on, in the situation I outlined, do you concede that it makes more sense for them to be if the only two options are a men's or women's prison, would but
that's not what it is. There is not only a men's and women's prison, and there is not only within a men or a women's prison the ability to separate people. There's people who have nothing to do with gender or who are in protective custody for one reason or another. That is a thing that already exists. So what is the issue? I don't get it. Trey says, Texas trans that still has a penis, and I don't actually get assaulted. Most of them end up becoming the dudes they use periods, bro. What the fuck does it say? They have to do life girlfriends. My dad's in prison, and he tells me about it all. The Texas trans that still has a penis, and I can't. I'm sorry, brother. I tried, but end up becoming the dude. Yeah, I mean, you know, people. Prison will change it for sure. That's for sure. Just says, answer, well, male prisoners are paid, so why shouldn't female? Is just great. Very, very thoughtful. Yeah. Yeah, it's the patriarchy. He says there's zero data that supports the fact that if you have smaller genitalia, you're less likely to RP someone. I would imagine. I would say, if anything, you're probably more likely because you're worried about your little dinglingy. Anything else? Should we put males who are dwarves in women's prisons? Good question. Good question in the context of this conversation, because that's how ridiculous this conversation actually is.
3 biological male with a penis who is outwardly feminine, and
Wait.
for them to
Say
be
what
in
did he say?
if the only 2 options are a men's or women's prison,
Again, which they're not.
would a 5'3" biological male with a penis who is outwardly feminine and is seen by the average person as a woman, you're not going to put them in the men's prison, are you?
I think it'd be very dangerous to do so.
Fair. So we agree on that. That's fair.
Well,
But that doesn't mean that they go in the women's prison. This is a false dichotomy. Sure, they're not going to be in Gen Pop. They're going to be in the men's prison in protective custody. Kelly's like, fucking let it rip.
well, we don't agree on that because I don't think either of those options is acceptable, and we should look for a solution rather than
Beautiful.
going.
I
as a
would love
team.
another solution, but it
Well,
seems like we.
No, it doesn't sound like you do want another solution. It sounds like you just want to put the transes where they want to go. That's what it sounds like to me.
agree
that
that
I
given the
suggested to
2
you.
current options, we are on the same page.
Oops. Not 2 current options.
No, I just think both of those options are completely unacceptable to me, and I think we need a third solution, and that's why I feel strongly about it. Do you see what I'm
Okay.
saying?
I see what you're saying. But it sounds like before you realized it might not look great to concede it, that you agreed in the 2
Wow. Before you realized how it would look, you changed what you were saying. This dude, anybody who said this dude is ignorant over dishonest, listen to this again.
options.
Strongly about it. Do you see what I'm
Okay.
saying?
I see what you're saying. But it sounds like before you realized it might not look great to concede it, that you agreed in the 2 options we have now, the female prison makes more sense.
I think this is where I'm going to do a David Pakman and go. I think it depends on the individual circumstances. For
Beautiful.
example,
That's what I'm saying.
if this
Yeah.
person is in prison because of sexual assault against women, I don't know that that is the right choice.
Got him. He's like, I'm gonna pull a David Pakman and say, well, I don't know. I can't really tell you because unless I have the complete answer to everything that you're saying, then having any kind of conversation about hypothetical or theoretical things is useless, right? Yeah, Calgary. They already had the what? Mike says, now the debate is on the size of the person going to prison. I guess we'll have different prisons for different sizes. I don't want to be sizist. Yep. Harley said they actually get put in protective custody in a men's prison. Does he know how prisons work? Look at him. Look at him. Does he look like somebody who knows how prisons work? Oh shit. So let's also not mention how a lot of these people aren't the most mentally stable. This is already solved. I don't get the problem here. Agreed. Yep. Agree with all you guys.
Personally.
Okay. I mean, maybe in that case, they would be. We're now getting so in the weeds, but
Yeah,
that's
we
a
are.
case where
That's what
Not really. Not really. It's a very basic question. If you have a penis, should you be in a women's prison? That's not in the weeds.
I
they
wanted
might
to
be.
move on.
They might be in solitary confinement anyway in that situation. I mean, we're really getting too narrow, I think.
Sure.
For what? Too narrow for what? This is the conversation.
Yeah. Hey, KK, do you believe in spring?
What? Hey, KK.
Oh, the trim
Is 4.0. That's on the deck too. The young.
man. I'm really enjoying this conversation.
Yeah, because
Are you?
I'm doing all the hard questioning. That's why you're fucking enjoying it.
But let's go on to a very thorny issue. My girlfriend is a left-wing progressive, woman of color and all the rest of it. And her and I have regular ding-dongs about this, at least twice a week, which is the thorny topic of immigration. And I am pro-limiting immigration because my argument comes from actually a very left-wing perspective, which is demand and supply. So, for instance, I remember one of my flatmates when I was in my late 20s was a mixed race guy called Daniel, and Daniel used to vote UKIP, which was a populist right wing of the conservatives, essentially. And I said to him, Dan, like, you're mixed race. Why are you voting for UKIP? And he said, Francis, because I'm an electrician, right? And ever since freedom of movement in the European Union, I've seen my wages frozen because people come from all over the European Union to come and work in London.
So Kelly, they've switched to they're talking about immigration now. So I think he was just prefacing that he currently or frequently has this conversation about immigration with his girl.
Now, I've got nothing against those people. And in fact, if I was in their position, I would do exactly the same. But the effect for me is that my wages haven't risen in real time because there's so much competition, because London is the place they all come to. So by limiting immigration, limiting the amount of people who can come and work in my field, my wages will therefore rise as a result. And I personally couldn't think of a counter argument to that particular point.
He's a really boring speaker. I'm glad the other guy's been talking more.
And your
What do you
question to
think?
me is,
And my question to you is, where do you stand on immigration? And do you have sympathy for that position? Because a lot of people on the left, and I'm not saying that you think this, would go, and they mischaracterize it as foreigners coming over here and taking our jobs, when I think we can both agree it's more complex.
it's more complex. So I can speak to the United States. I've studied immigration pretty deeply here. So the first thing is, in order to really talk about this, we have to know the reality about some of these issues, like, well, how many people really want to come to the US, and what is the effect of the immigrant labor market on wages, and do we need more workers, all these different things. Okay.
Hey, we got Tyler Smith in the building. What is good? What is good, brother? Glad to see you. Me and Tyler and Trey will all be watching the latest episode of The Last of Us in Discord right after this. Welcome, buddy. He said, I'm cool with more immigration. Just put some structure on it and get people here legally. Fair enough. Yeah, I studied immigration. Did you though?
So in Argentina, where I was born, basically the concept of illegal immigration it's not really an issue. It's just like, if you go and you can find a job or enroll in school, there's like a path to citizenship for everybody. Now,
yeah, because it's Argentina.
why doesn't Argentina get overloaded? Because the economy is a
Because it's Argentina.
disaster, and not that many people want to go to Argentina. Okay. The United States is a
I'm glad he was not trying to compare the two.
much better economy than Argentina for the average person. So
Right.
we often assume everybody wants to come and move to the United States. And if we just open the floodgates, everybody would.
Yes. Does anybody else feel like he's trying to talk to you like you're a toddler? Well, see, like the way that Kamala Harris does, but she's just like dumb. He's trying to speak at that level. Well, there is a country, and our country is America. And in America, people want to come. So we have a border, okay? And like, bro, spit it out. They've said immigration will always have an economic impact, right or wrong. That is a fact. Just said, who is we? I hate when people say we assume. Speak for yourself, bro. I like that. I like it a lot.
The truth is, when you survey people around the world, not that many people want to move to the United States. Sure, many do, but most people want to be in the country where they live and where their family is and where they speak their language and where, okay. So the first thing is, even if we open the floodgates completely, yes, many people would come to the US, but
How many? How many? So if most people out of the, 8-9 billion people that we have on the earth, if most of those people don't want to come to America, but even 30% of those people want to come to America, what is America going to look like?
it's not the world is going to come rushing to the US. So the first thing
Yes, it will.
we would have to realize is
As we've already seen at the border since Biden has been in office.
how many people really want to come here.
Too many.
Fine.
And how many would that be, do you think, if you just open borders?
I don't remember. I'm not an advocate of open borders anyway, but I don't remember what the numbers are. It's been a year since I looked at this data. But when you look at many countries, and it'll be like 10% of a country might want to come to the US, maybe
10% of every country? 10% of every country. You think we can take on 10% of every country? How many people do you think there are, bro? You realize that that's millions of people, right? Well, it'd be like 10% of a country. What are you saying? Again, he is expecting you to not have an idea of how many people there actually are. So when he says 10%, oh, 10%, that's not that much. I had 10% of my income, that wouldn't mean anything. So 10% of all the people in all the other countries, that's probably not that much, right? Hey, we got Salty Plays in the building. What is good? What is good? Welcome to the party. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Any film says, I studied it. I don't remember 10%. That's not that much, right? That's not quantifiable at all. How can you even poll for that? You can't. He's just making shit up. He's just saying things.
Maybe a country with 5 million people, so that's like 500,000. But then how many actually would do it? Well, it's a fraction of that. And how many would stay? And it's a fraction of that. But so the first thing is
10% of most countries in the world. That's quite a lot of people, right?
I'm making the number up. I'm just
okay.
Oh, okay. Glad that we're in agreement that you're just talking out of your ass.
Cool.
Yeah, okay. Doesn't matter. I'm not advocating we open the floodgates anyway.
Sure.
There should be an immigration policy. There should be a process.
That's very right.
So Chester says he's making an argument based on a survey. The issue is not that people want to come to the U.S. They want to come to a country that will support them for doing nothing. Very big difference. Fucking based, Chester. Fucking based. Fix immigration policy and no one will want to come there anymore. Well, I mean, it's America. Everybody want to come to America. We're America. But I hear you. I hear you. Lisa, this may be dumber than the dudes in the women's prisons.
Right wing, David.
Yeah.
Luckily, I believe this is our second to last topic.
Welcome to the far right.
The second part of it would be, well, what is the effect of documented immigrant and undocumented immigrant labor on wages? Because there's this economic concept where if you suddenly flood with tons of supply for something, the price demanded will go down and wages will go down. Well, remember, we have a minimum wage in the United States. There's ways
Oh, yeah. Okay. I was going to say, because nobody gets paid under the table, right?
around it with under the table work, I would concede. But there is a minimum wage, which is a different argument that some people are also against. But
Then why are you talking about it? Let's have this argument.
that is a lower limit on wages. But the truth is that the studies that have been done show that immigrant labor, documented and undocumented, in the aggregate, has essentially no statistical effect on wages. Now, I know it's counterintuitive because it's like, well, if I can find an undocumented immigrant to work for $2 an hour, which in theory you can, and it should depress wages, but
it doesn't, because I said so. I completely agree, Harley. You're 100% right. I don't know what drongo means, but hey, the point is, I know it's hard, guys, but that is why we're doing this. That is why we're doing this, because people actually do consume this unironically. That's a real thing. So if you go out in the world and operate without understanding that this is what people think, this is how people get their information, this is their basis for arguing about any of these things, well, I mean, just on the basic level, they're going to call you all the transphobe, this is racist, all that shit, which is, annoying in and of itself. But you're not going to be able to dig yourself out from whatever hole they try to put you in because you don't agree with them. We have to know what these... Being nice, and I'm trying not to curse because YouTube doesn't like cursing as much. This guy...
in a country of 331 million, with the number of immigrants, documented and undocumented, that we have, and the fields in which they work, and on, it has a negligible effect on wages.
Right there with you, bro.
Much more of an effect on wages is seen from lack of regulation on the corporations that are doing the hiring, and in some industries actually colluding to hold wages down. So it's like, okay, well, that's a piece. Wages will collapse. Actually, they won't. So I'm glad to kind of...
Okay, why won't they? Why does the argument that you just presented, that you claim to have knocked down, why does it not work? You said that it doesn't work, but you didn't prove that doesn't work.
See where you want to kind of steer this from here, but I think one of the things that we have to understand is a lot of the...
Yo, that dude's a piece of shit. Oh man. Oh man, have you guys? If anybody hasn't seen the argument between Adam Ruins Everything and Rogan, it is gold. It is gold. And absolutely, yeah. Like I said from the beginning, this guy is not ignorant. He knows exactly what he's doing. He knows exactly where his bread is buttered. And it doesn't matter that all of us are like, oh, this dude's an idiot. Because all of the people that follow him will watch this exact same video and be like, yo, you took down those transphobes and the xenophobes because the immigration. We live in two different realities. If you are not aware of their reality, you're fucked because they have control over the culture. That it's just that simple. All this is not true. He's so disconnected from the real world. I mean, well, yes, okay, I do agree with that, but I think he is a lot more aware of the limitations of his arguments than he's letting on. Let's put it that way. So, any film said, wait, how could it have a lack of influence, but then we have to regulate the corporations to control it? I don't know.
Sort of common sense about immigration. When you look at it, immigrants commit more crime. Actually, immigrants commit less crime, even undocumented immigrants. Why? Because they know they're in the country illegally.
I thought we were talking about wages.
They go out of their way to stay off the radar of law enforcement. Makes perfect sense. Once you break all these things down,
it makes perfect sense for drug dealers to stay below the radar because they know they're breaking the law. Like, drug dealers actually commit less crimes than the average person. Well, except for the drug dealing. Hey, we got Bisty in the building. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Glad to see you. Welcome to the party. We are just going over David Pakman. This is David Pakman on the Triggernometry Podcast, and he is spewing a bunch of BS. We want to make sure we know exactly what that is. Welcome to the party.
Hopefully you can get to a better place to really talk about this stuff.
So what you were saying is essentially it's control of greater regulations of corporations.
Oh, no. Oh, no. We do not at all. If you would like to join us on YouTube, the link is right there, but feel free to hang out and do whatever. But no, we have been very upset with how David has been presenting that he is acting in good faith when very clearly he is not. He is there with an agenda. He is there with a narrative, and he is going to do anything to push it. And unfortunately, a lot of the people who listen to him will buy it whole. They'll swallow it whole. So he is a progressive. He is a progressive social democrat. So, yeah. Any film says MS-13, guys. Yeah, notoriously under the radar. Yeah, like why would they commit more? Why would they commit crimes? They already are doing things that could get them arrested. Basically, that's what I was just saying about illegal immigrants. Illegal immigrants don't break laws because they already know that they're here illegally.
Come on, man.
Harley said, just because they commit less doesn't mean they commit no crimes. Common sense would tell me if I'm in a country I don't know, I'm more likely to commit crimes because I don't know the laws of the land. Exactly. I am, so I'm pretty much very centered as well, but a lot of people would call me a conservative. I call myself a 2015 liberal. I hated Trump when, he first came on the scene, kind of warmed up to him. I would not vote for him in 2020, but I thought he was a better choice than Biden. And I think the Democratic Party is disgusting. And I think while the GOP is probably not any better, there's a lot of people speaking in the conservative space that are bringing more new ideas than people like the Mitch McConnells of the world. So yeah, I don't like Trump either. I wouldn't say I hate him, but yeah, he's not my favorite. Not my favorite.
That will ensure better.
Let's back that up a sec.
To really talk about this stuff.
So what you were saying is essentially it's control of greater regulations of corporations that will ensure better conditions for workers and better pay.
That's not what I said. What I said is more responsible for stagnant wages than immigrant labor is the way in which corporations can work in a whole bunch of different ways
Such as?
to avoid paying more. And
Such as?
this includes that their employees are subsidized by government programs. This
Oh, more government. Wow, what a surprise. The progressive wants more government.
includes using third parties and contractors rather than employees. You know, we're again getting into very specific issues, but
That's the whole point, bro. What do you think this conversation is? We're asking you what you think. And every time you have an opinion or you claim to have an opinion, you're like, well, we're getting to the weeds. We don't need to get into the weeds. Yes, bro. That is what we want to do. Get into the weeds. What is it that you think? That's what you're here for. Dave said that is a bullshit stat as well. How can you say if they commit less crimes? You can only add to crimes committed if you get caught. Harley says, if you are an illegal immigrant, what jobs are available that don't require any legal documentation? Yep. And Chester says, what do you mean by crime? Do you mean steal cars and televisions because I've got children to feed and they only eat expensive consumer products and I'm oppressed? Got him!
all of those things are far more responsible for stagnant wages than immigrant labor.
Okay. Can I go to the cultural side of the immigration conversation then, which is this
Well, I don't care about culture, so no.
won't really apply to the US, but I'll put it on the table just for our viewers, because you're a nation of immigrants, melting pot, all of that. So, you have a different view of immigration generally, but particularly what you call undocumented immigration, what we call illegal immigration.
Oh, we do too. It's just them.
In this country, which is people coming into the country without following the immigration rules, right? Is there not a moral argument
So am I. I'm a first-gen American. So, first generation, let's go.
that is just wrong? That allowing people to come to circumvent the queue, because I'm a legal immigrant in the UK, right? I had to follow a pretty expensive and pretty thorough process for this country to make sure that I meet the requirements that the people of this country voted to have in place for who can come and live here.
Shout out to Canada.
And there are other people who are getting in a boat and crossing the English Channel, or in your case, crossing the Rio Grande by paying somebody $2,000 or whatever it is to come into the country.
Yeah, illegal immigrants can afford $2,000, but you can't afford $400.
Isn't what we as the people of the United States, or we as the people of the United Kingdom voted for, and people who do this should not be allowed to come. And if
I honestly, Visky, it might be more exciting if they were actually not trying to be nice and calm. The fact is that the two guys, that's their podcast, they're being very gracious. And this guy, David Pakman, is very good, unfortunately, at seeming nice and calm, but being very, not vitriolic, but underhanded. And the whole point of this is that there's a lot of people like that. And so it's not always the people who are yelling. It's not always the people who are bombastic that are insidious for this country. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. He seems nice. He's his hair's all nice and done. He's a cute all-American dude. But the policies that he wants to implement will destroy our lives. He is snarky. I mean, hey, he's a good-looking dude. I can't take that away from him. But he's also a piece of shit, and he is snarky. Chester said, the UK is also a melting pot. Maybe we forgot about the last 2,000 years of war. Dark Ages, Roman conquest, French conquest, German loss. It's all up there. Lisa, don't forget Pakman totally standards the lads after this interview. Yeah, as soon as this was over, apparently, he went onto his own channel and talked a bunch of shit about these guys. Oh, I'll say it. I don't care about nothing. Actually, I care about a lot, but that's exactly why I'm saying it. It's nonsense to talk about melting pot as if it's an American issue. Greed. Yep, that's why it's calm, because he's being passive aggressive. That's why. Not because he's nice, not because he's kind, not because he's doing anything else, but trying to win over people who are not smart enough to see why he is just pushing bullshit.
If they do come, they should be sent back and forced to join the legal process, which we all voted for.
Yeah, I mean, listen, my family came to the United States legally. It was a lottery system, and we wouldn't have come if we hadn't gotten it. I think countries are allowed to. It's not immoral to have
Why
a
not?
border.
He said my family wouldn't have come if we were, I would say, passive aggressive. If you're outwardly rude, at least I understand where you're coming from. If you're being passive aggressive, it means that you think that you're smarter than me, and you can passively be aggressive, and I won't notice it. So absolutely, passive aggressive is being worse. But so what did he just say here?
And we wouldn't have come if we hadn't gotten it.
We wouldn't have come. It was a lottery, and we wouldn't have come if we hadn't gotten it. Why? I thought that, undocumented immigration was no big deal. But you say you wouldn't come here if you didn't get picked for the lottery. Why? That's your argument.
I think countries are allowed to. It's not immoral to have a border. It's not immoral to enforce the border. Deportation in and of itself is not something I advocate should end. I think the areas where I have a problem include, one, those who came to the United States when they were not adults because they were brought by parents.
That at least I'm willing to have a conversation about. But the leftist policy on this is to act like every immigrant is the dreamers. That's all right. That makes sense. That makes sense to have that conversation. And so basically he's saying, I don't know why, but I can't ever tell if someone's being passive aggressive or not. This entire time, I thought he was just being nice. I know that is what he is trying to convince you of. That is what he's trying to do. And that's exactly why we're breaking this down. Because I don't want people who you seem like a nice person. You seem like you like that other people would be nice. And so I don't want nice people like you to be swindled by people who are not nice, who can pretend to be nice. And there's too much of that going on. And we're just talking about this right now, but it's in so many different areas of life. And that's really what this channel is about, is finding out what do people really mean, and how can we point out when people are being dishonest or people are giving us the BS. So you're in the right place, Bisky. I said, I thought 10% of every country would come if they let them. Well, that was only for the last argument. Now that doesn't help him. So that's not true anymore. Just said a completely useless anecdote. He had no point to make. He just wanted to use his immigration card with that story. Yep. He is being nice in a very dishonest way. Chester said, my parents came here as if that has anything to do with immigration policy. All of them came here legally. And that's the point of the discussion. His story is not example of the point. If anything, he's essentially defeated his own argument before it started. There you go. There you go. Anyfilm says the Dreamer policy actually endangers children because it encourages parents to send their unaccompanied children to the United States and hope that they can join them later. I agree with that. But the fact is that there are people who were already brought here and they don't know another place. Is that my responsibility? No, it is not. But as an American, I can have compassion for what I would essentially see is my countrymen. If you grew up in America and you experienced 9/11 and all of these things, I am much more amenable to your situation than you just hopped over yesterday. They're different situations. I'm not saying, that we should or shouldn't do anything. I'm just saying they're different situations. Basically says, no, I'm going to be honest. I want to do debates, but I am not the kindest person. Well, again, you are in the right place, but I don't want the other person to leave the debate and be sad. If people are going to engage in debates, this is why I have this banner here. Please keep the chat respectful. Attack ideas, not people. That is how arguments should go. I get very heated. When I get upset, when I get in my flow. But very, very, very rarely, unless somebody else does it first, because I match energy. But I will always come after the things that you are saying and not you as a person. And so as long as you are doing that, if the other person gets sad because you don't like their ideas, that's on them. That's on them. It's every one of our responsibilities to be able to deal with facts that are real that we don't like. You're getting Bisky. You're getting requested in the Discord. So we do have a Discord server for the channel. The link is I can drop the link in the chat there for you. And that's where we hang out and do our post-show panel. So I'll drop that link for you. We'll just say good message. But sometimes I feel like if I'm attacking the idea, for example, I was debating somebody who liked Trump. It feels like I'm attacking them because they react as if I am. They react as if I am, and then I feel bad. This is the tactic, Bisky. This is how they avoid being wrong. Even though they are wrong in circumstances, they can play the victim. Well, you hurt my feelings. Okay, that doesn't make you correct about the things that you are saying about the world. Sorry. It is your responsibility to be able to deal with words and ideas that you don't agree with. So I'm glad you're here, Bisky. I really hope you continue to come back because I think you are really going to appreciate the type of thing that we do here. And I felt the way that you do for so long, and that's exactly why I started this channel. They're like, am I an asshole? Am I a bad person? Because every time I try to have real conversations, people end up thinking of me as a bad person, an asshole, as if I'm trying to hurt them. When clearly, you can look at the transcripts, and I'm talking about the issue, whatever it is. And the fact is that they are wrong. And they use the victim mentality, as we were just talking about, to get out of having to admit that they're wrong. And then, oh, you hurt my feeling. And now you're wrong. Even though everything they said was inaccurate, now you're the bad person. That is not how conversations should happen. That is not how conversations should happen. And if I have anything to do with it, it's going to stop. Just said, I possibly have something to do with the frustration, but like Jesus said, none of it is personal or rude. Nobody wants that. Exactly. I mean, we can all be, we can have different opinions, and we can be very strongly attached to those opinions without hurling insults at each other. There's nothing there. So yeah, indie film likes Trump and doesn't have feelings at all. He said, I like this so much. Hey, thank you. I really want to start my own channel, and I really need help with that. Some people say I am too nice to do Twitch, but I think I'm too mean. I'm so confused. Well, again, let me grab this link for you. The Discord server is a perfect place to come and see. You see how we are here. So just drop the link there for you. It is free to join. And then, like I said, after the show, we always go over there and we have a conversation. Tonight, we're going to be watching. Bam! That was fast. Bisky in the Discord. What is good? So we will be in there right after the show, and glad to see you there. Just said they all have a wallet full of victim cards. We aren't playing Monopoly here. The get out of argument free card does not work in the real world. All right, let's finish this up and get to the panel.
And their lives are here. I don't think it's fair to send them back to a country that they may have quite literally no connection in. That doesn't make sense to me.
It makes sense to me. It just also, it's not. It makes sense why people wouldn't want that. But it does make sense why, if you're not a citizen of this country, regardless of how long you've been here, you don't belong here.
I think if you want to enforce the border, and you have to understand that 2/3 of it is not literally the border. It's people just coming in and overstaying visas, for example. And I also think that you have to concede.
David, I'm sorry to interrupt. This isn't to trip you up at all. I really want to hear the rest of your answer. But just on those people, can I ask you, if someone has overstayed their visa, should they be deported?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I'm open to. We have courts that adjudicate this, okay? And there are a number of circumstances where I would say individuals should be allowed to stay if they've, if you have someone who's been here some period of time and they've committed no crimes and they are productive members of society. And I'm totally open to immigration judges saying you get to stay. But I am not the country.
How would that work? We now need to have an entirely new type of court system and an entirely new type of, like things that, boxes to check, that if you're an illegal immigrant and you do this, and we want to leave that in the hands of the government. Again, putting more power to the government. It does not make sense. This is maybe shitty, but that is on the parents, not on the U.S.
Country has a right to enforce immigration law. It's what it is.
Yeah,
we have to change the law if we don't want that.
Yeah. Sorry for interrupting you. I just wanted to clear that particular point up.
Yeah. No, I guess I'm, if you really want to deal with this issue, it's not about a wall on the southern border would be my point. And you
Okay, and what is it about then?
also do yourself, if you're better able to understand how people are coming in, you can make unnecessary so much other infrastructure that's currently in place.
So when you say that there are other ways to solve the problem, what is that?
Well, again, the majority of people are not coming over the border.
Yeah, so you need to deport them. We've got that, right?
Deport
Most of them. So
there's about 10 minutes left of this video. And that last piece probably is just like, yeah. So we're just gonna, we're about here and we're gonna go to there.
the people who are overstaying the visas, unless they've been in the country for a really long time and they
That's interesting, Harley Rose. So if they overstay their visas, they should get two options: take the citizenship test and become a citizen, or go back to your country. That's interesting. I don't hate that. I don't hate that. I think it would have to be a little bit more complex than that, but that's a really good idea. I like that. David Banner said, that's the solution to all of these problems. I absolve myself of all personal responsibility. The government should take care of it. That's what being a liberal is in 2023. Mike said, I would love to have David Pakman as my father. I could have gotten away with murder. Literally.
the immigration judge looks at their case and goes, you get to stay because you're, the kind of person we want here. Everybody else gets sent back, right?
Yeah, I mean, practically speaking, it's not going to happen because it's just there's not information about every single person who's in that case, practically speaking. But theoretically, there's no legal case to argue that all those people get to stay.
Right.
I think that I'm open to a path to amnesty with certain requirements. And I think that what that would be is up for debate. If someone came to me and said, okay, listen, if you've committed no crime other than being here illegally and you have employment and whatever other mechanisms are met, you're put on a 7-year path to citizenship. I'm totally open to things like that. But I think it's a tough argument for me to make that the current law should just be ignored.
Right. Okay. And then what about in terms of people who do come in illegally over the border, let's say? What should happen to them in an ideal world?
It's already happening. I mean, they're here illegally, so they're subject to deportation. I mean, that's just how it is.
Cool.
Yeah.
That seems like a pretty sensible approach, that part of it to me, which I think we could probably agree on.
And the last element, because we've got about 5 minutes and then we need to do questions for our local supporters and we don't want to take up any more.
I think we kind of get the picture of who this guy is. I think we got a picture of who this guy is and the fact that, oh man, I forgot to light my candle. And so David Banner says, okay, so Pakman at all want to make a definitive statement. Yet all these nuanced points he's making are the way things should be. Yeah, it's the liberal platform, and there's degrees, but the whole thing is about feelings. It's that simple. Well, I feel like these people shouldn't have to be sad. So therefore, the government should pay for all of this. Like, what are you talking about? Having passed to amnesty only encourages more illegal immigration. Sure. I think this goes back to an earlier conversation I had. I don't even know how many of you guys were here, but I was talking about how it might be realistic to pause all immigration for a while so that this isn't the case. We have a lot of people here who, could use that path to amnesty or citizenship, but there's no more new people. So anybody new is just illegal, straight up. You get caught, you get deported. And then once that, we get through the 11 plus million people, it was 11 million people 10 years ago. So it's got to be closer to 20. So there's 20 million people. When we sort through those and get rid of the ones that need to be getting rid of and give citizenship to the ones who, are contributing to society, then we can open back up the border. But unfortunately, again, my parents came here, were not born here. Biscuit's parents were not born here. A lot of people are first generation Americans, but and that's a huge privilege. But what do you want us to do? There's only so much stuff. Hart says they come illegally. They should be charged for the crimes they committed here, serve their time, and then sent back. That will prevent a lot of them trying and hurt their chances of passing legally. Hey, we got no freedoms coming in the last minute. What is good, brother? Just passing by to say hello, keep up the good work. I don't see that crazy woman here today. Not today, but we got you. So, no, I'm just kidding. Glad to see you, brother. Still waiting on you to join the Discord, man. But hopefully soon. Good to see you, brother. Thank you for stopping by. Do very much appreciate it. And Indian Film says, I think I brought this up before, but sometime after World War II, all immigration was paused for a while. And that makes sense to me. So we see that the progressive platform does not have a lot of depth to it. It doesn't. You can get further. You can get people who are better and better and better and better at our pontificating on the bullshit. But at the end of the day, none of it really means anything. And there's just people who are better at packaging it than others. And we have to be able to see these conversations, see these things happening in real time, and be able to point them out. That is the only way this is going to change. That's the only way. I started the channel. I'm doing my part. So y'all need to go out there and do the same thing. And, maybe you don't need to worry about people thinking that you're mean. Maybe you need to worry more about people thinking you're nice and then giving away all your rights to the government. And then they squash you because the government sure as shit doesn't care whether you're mean or nice. So with that said, I really do appreciate all of you guys, especially those who have donated. That I didn't know. I had no idea how I would feel, and I have, my heart has not been that warm in so long. So thank you so much. Even if you didn't, donate, just being here, hanging out, helping me grow, being part of the chat, all of that stuff, it means so much to me, guys. And this was the first monetized stream. So this is just the beginning for me. This is the beginning for us. We are about to take the F off. So if you have not already subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. Definitely hit that like button if you haven't already did so. Thank you. I'm a little bit cheesy sometimes. But yes, we are headed right over to Discord to have the panel. We're going to be talking about this and then whatever else comes up. And of course, we don't have to worry about the YouTube overlords and anything. Thank you so much, Darshan. I really appreciate you stopping by and donating. That does mean a lot to me. Again, please go check out his channel. And thank you so much, Bizkey. And again, I hope you guys enjoyed this party. Again, I am your host, Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Until next time, guys, I am out of here. Peace.